for the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, the Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Okay, we are blessed to have with us our borough engineer and our DPW director. So you know that they're two different people, not secret identity here. The first thing we're going to talk about, you know what, because I'm assuming Dan will be here any second, I'd like to skip around for a second and get, we'll do Piermont Road and the municipal turf first, and then we'll go to Dog Park and or Fister's Pond, depending on if Andrew McKesh gets here before Dan Park.
So we're doing Piermont Road?
Piermont Road.
So still neighbor, is it right if I sit over there?
Yeah, come.
Is Bill coming?
I don't know, he should be.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
Where's Bill?
Go ahead, have a seat.
Sit here.
Sit here in case Bill shows up.
In case
Yeah,
Bill
we're
shows
going to
up.
assume that Bill got here before Tony.
Yeah, that's right.
So just because I was here tonight, I wanted to give you an update on both Piermont Road and on
Turf.
the turf. So the turf is starting this week.
Okay.
It could start as early as tomorrow, but it'll definitely start this week, and it's scheduled to be completed by 9/3.
And when you say the turf is starting, what, they're going to rip it up first? Is that the first step, is to rip it up?
They'll first secure the site, and then they'll start demoing it.
Okay.
And complete, what did you say?
By
Bill?
9/3.
Okay.
The second one, Piermont Road. So Piermont Road is really per schedule. So you received back in June a memo on June 26th from us. The design is basically completed now. So the submission is from the 16th, which is today, through the 30th. So we submit the DOT for approval. They have 15 days to look at it, but that gets extended because it now needs railroad submission. So CSX has to look at it. So DOT, once they approve it, will submit to CSX. They have 1 month, CSX, to review and comment. If they come sooner, great. We did do a preliminary discussion with CSX, and they sent us a 6-page document of items they want to address as part of the project. They know of the road and of the crossings. So we tried to incorporate as much of that as we could. Bidding is September, construction, bidding and award will be in September, and construction will be October, November. It's a relatively quick project, because it's mostly just milling and paving and a lot of striping for the signing for CSX. But once it goes, it'll go pretty quick.
I
Yeah.
have sorry,
Go ahead.
I have a question. You say submission to NJDOT, that's 7/16 to 7/30, that's the period we have to submit it within, or we
That's the
expect a
period, that's the
return
period
from
we
them?
submit to them, and they review it.
And
So-
they return it
Well, they
back
have
by
it.
the
Well, they don't
30th?
return it, then they
pass it on to the
pass it to
railroad.
CSX.
They have it already, correct?
They have it, either they have it today or they have it tomorrow. Yeah, they have it, basically.
All right, so if they get it tomorrow, then they have 2 weeks.
They have 15 days
All right,
to
so
turn it over to.
Which will be like the
CSX.
30th. I
Right.
think. And then it'll go to CSX, and CSX has up till the 30th
They have a
of
month, they have 1 month.
okay, and when they send it to CSX, they notice you, right? So you'll know when.
They don't, but they know, everybody knows we're anxious for it, and they all know we're engaged, so we'll follow up and make sure it's sent.
So on the 30th, you'll
Yes.
check with them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on that.
So I'm just gonna go back to filter for a second.
Okay.
Starting next week, we're not gonna be able to use anymore the filter, right?
They might be starting, it could be starting, it'll either be, so starting tomorrow, between tomorrow and Thursday, that field will be closed until September.
I'm sure that the rec has not issued any permits out for that period.
No, they haven't. They've cleared the field. The field's now empty.
Okay.
They know about that.
Okay, so now Dan is here. We can go to the dog park.
We go to the dogs because Dan is here.
Well, I'm sorry.
On the Fister's Pond, since we're waiting.
Well, we can do Fister's
You want-
Pond
We'll
first.
do both. Let's start with the dog park and then we'll do Fisters in a
Okay.
second. All right,
Are we on Dog Park or
Yeah.
Fisters?
the dog. All right, we have a budget for 17,000.
Ho, 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 ho. We don't have a budget for 17, we have a budget for 50.
Yeah,
It was approved for 50. The money is already there.
that doesn't mean anything.
I'm sorry?
It does not mean anything.
What do
It's
you mean
up
it
to us.
doesn't mean anything?
It means that it's up to us to decide what features we want to put in.
Well, hold
We're not
on.
gonna just throw 50, okay, let's put 50,000.
No,
We gotta look
nobody's
at what it is
suggesting that, but
important.
when we approved the 50,
Yeah.
We had a list of things that we approved already.
Okay.
It was a budget.
And-
Peter,
and the
we
money-
becoming heavy, like, we have 50,000. The proposal we had, the latest proposal we had from Mazer, is for 17,000.
Well, hold on, what, I never saw a proposal for 17,000.
Because you don't read the papers.
No,
If
no,
you
no,
read
no,
the
no,
papers,
no,
you'll see
no.
them.
No, I read the papers.
Okay, so
When
it's on
was the-
page number 2,
When was this
June
so-called
6,
proposal?
June 6, 2018 was presented.
Page 2 where? I'm
On
sorry.
page 2, on the specific proposal of the,
What's the date on the paper that you're
think
looking at?
the paper that it's
It's
July
the memo,
2nd.
it's the memo from the
And
borough
the proposal from
administrator.
Mazer is
And
on,
the second page of that is the budget numbers. Is the financial numbers.
for 17,300.
But the number is mentioned under attachment A.
But keep in mind, it's not presented as the final. It's-
No, nobody said it's the
Yeah.
final, nobody said the final.
It's basically the progression of the
Exactly.
three budgets.
Well, yes, you know. Okay,
Exactly.
but I'd like to ask the question, who decided to drop from 50 to 17?
Okay, so, we didn't have, what we said,
Who's we?
the council, and we went over there and met with Andy.
Who's
The-
we went over to the council did not go over and meet with Andy.
Okay.
Who went
Peter,
over
then
there?
you don't remember.
No, I do remember.
Okay,
I'm
we
part
had
of
a
the governing
meeting
body.
about 2 sessions ago,
Yes.
when we looked at the different dog parks. And then Andy provided us with the numbers. And we all agreed that those are good numbers to start with.
Who's we all
The
agreed?
council, Peter,
I don't recall.
it's possible you
Dan-
don't recall, but we
Dan?
did it.
Do you recall a council saying that 17,000 was good numbers?
It's the
Hold
basis.
on, hold on a second.
Yeah,
All right, Andy,
Did we decide on 40 by 40 and 50 by 40?
yeah.
in your
What was the original size?
Smaller.
No, the original was bigger,
was
was
bigger.
way bigger.
No,
Yeah, we cut it down.
When we say we cut it down,
Yes.
the reality of this, Max,
Size,
is you
size.
took it upon yourself, maybe with Shama,
Yeah.
to basically gut this project.
Nobody gutted any.
Well,
Nobody got a
project is-
project, Peter.
What got
as
Those are
project?
words that you
We
should not
went-
Well,
use.
it
We
went from
went-
50 to 17.
Yes,
And at no point was there this was presented to us, but nobody ever decided that we're going to do that.
We
Oh,
went
sure.
when Andy had put in stakes, we
I'm
went to
sorry.
look at
we
them.
all went to look at it and we came back.
What had happened was last summer, when there was discussion of dog park on Dean Drive, the proposal was in the 6 figures.
Yes.
And then it was determined it's not feasible because
Yeah.
of parking, et cetera,
Yep.
and that would be held off until the 2018 budget, so 50,000 was put in capital, just as a placeholder.
Just as a
Then
placeholder,
The
no,
first time
Let her finish.
council this year saw any specifications or anything from a dog park was at the last meeting in June, which is what's on this attachment, that Andy came up with 17.
Mhm.
And then there was discussion of making one of the parks for
exactly.
the dogs a little larger.
Mhm.
And that's why we're at this point that 50 was budgeted, 17 is being presented, and where to find somewhere in between and discuss the extent of the amenities so Andy could prepare a revised proposal. So that way the borough knows what is coming out of the capital and the rest that will be solicited through donations.
But if you look at this list of 17, there are really, basically, it's a bare bones, very small dog park.
2 small dog parks.
Right, and
Yeah.
my own feeling is if this is Tenafly, and if we're going to do something, we might as well do it right. If we don't want to spend the money, then let's not do it.
No, we can do it right, no
For
question about it.
$17,000?
No, nobody said that the 17,000 was the basis, and we can start basically looking what else we need to add to this proposal. Because this is the only proposal we have for the location over here. And now we can say, there was a question about this, the large dog park being too small. We need to improve it. We need to look at maybe bringing water to the edge of the park and put that together. But that's where we get the progress. The only thing that we have on the table right now for this location is this proposal for 17,347. We can now start working on this one to bring it up to what we need to do for the park.
Right.
Their seats.
Yeah.
And just because we put a placeholder of 50,000 doesn't mean we have to spend 50,000.
That's correct.
Yeah, exactly. So,
You know-
We do the same thing with the pond. We
Yeah,
have
we-
$500,000
Yeah,
there. We're not
doesn't
gonna
mean we have
spend
to
that.
spend all of
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Well, Andy, just to recall back to 2 meetings ago, what were the original dimensions when we
So the
walked
original
this?
dimensions was to have basically a 50 by 50 small dog park,
Mhm.
and we marked out because we didn't think we wanted to take the trees down, 80 by 100 large dog park. And then when we met out there, we looked at the area and basically the group decided to make it as small as we could inside.
Andy, I'm sorry, but who was in this group?
I was
yeah,
there.
I remember.
Yeah.
I
I
wanted
think
the opposite.
Yeah.
I wanted it
Yeah.
larger.
Yeah. I think so.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jeff?
We all went out.
We all went
Well,
out.
no,
the mayor-
I
the mayor
was
didn't go out.
I was
The
mayor
certainly
was
not
not
part of a
Carl,
group out
Carl
there.
was out.
What?
It was a break in between meetings.
It was a
We
break
were-
between
We were in a
meetings.
bunch of closed sessions and before
You know,
starting.
to shrink this from an 80 by 100 to, I mean, right now it says
50 by 40.
50 by 40. I
Yeah.
mean, you're basically making it half the size of the park that it was.
Yeah,
And the other one is even smaller.
yeah. And now we can lower cart if we need to put more to figure out what we want to do. Because that was the first one, which is over 100, had benches, it had water fountains and all the other stuff, which I don't think that we're gonna put in a proposal. We just need to understand the size, and we understand what is necessity, and I understand that we might have people that will donate to the park if we want to improve it.
Do we have room, Andy, for 100 by
100 is big.
100 by 80 over there?
Yeah, we had originally staked out I think it was a 50 by 50 and an 80 by 100. That was your right, Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was what Carl did that.
But
We kind
that-
of staked out without we
It
didn't,
went around the trees,
right?
right?
We didn't want to take
Nobody
those trees
wants to
down,
take
right?
any
We wanted
trees
to-
down.
We're
No,
still
no.
not taking down any
Yeah.
trees.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
this,
no.
this size kind of came into effect because we worked between the trees.
Yeah.
We came inside of
I
it.
would tell you that this size is
Sounds small.
kind of small, is a nice
Yeah.
way of putting it.
But for the small
Sounds
dogs.
For the
a
small
50
dogs,
by-
I
I'm not
think
talking
it's
about the
fine.
small dogs, I'm talking
Yeah,
about the big dogs.
and the big dog, 100, it's a big one. Really, it's a big one. We can look at maybe like 50 by 80.
What is the problem with making a big one for the dog? I'm not suggesting that we the bells and whistles, but I
Yeah.
think from a size perspective,
Okay, so on a size, from the point of view, every dog park you want to build, in my mind, you don't want to make it so big that you don't have really immediate access to the dogs to allow the dogs to get into any kind of accidents or fights or stuff like that. The owners have to be able to immediately get 100 yards.
feet.
It's a big one.
100 feet.
100 feet, I'm sorry.
No, that's the smallest.
Sorry?
That's the smallest that most people say.
If you want to do it, it's okay with me. I'm just basically,
No, it's
the
3
question
acres
was
is considered.
why you don't want to have a very big one.
That's a 3-acre park that doesn't.
Christine,
Please.
May I?
Yeah.
Carl, can we get the posts with string or some sort of visual aid?
Wasn't it put there?
Yeah, we
what
have.
had
Wow,
there
we have
was-
stakes there.
The stakes were there, but nothing.
Not the
connecting-
string, okay,
Nothing
all
connecting
right.
the corners to get a
Sure. I mean,
feel to it.
How large do you want it to be?
I
That's
guess
the
we'll
question.
go
Let's decide the size.
Three sizes, 100 by 80 is the largest,
That's a lot of,
but just to visualize.
That's
And
a good
then
idea.
next
Visualizing it is
size
a
would
good
be-
idea.
Yeah, I think you're kind of skipping over the middle proposal, which was the September proposal, which was the proposal that the $50,000 budget was based on. And that had also dimensions. That was based on an 80 by 80 and a 40 by 40.
who was
So,
like
it-
that? I don't think that
I
we
don't
had
remember
I don't
the
think we
80
have a
by 80.
proposal for 50,000.
but that's what the
Yeah, I
president
didn't
asked
bring
for.
with me, but I revised it to that.
in September, this is what
You
this is
wouldn't
what
put
the
$50,000 in the budget
allocation,
without a
right.
No, but this is, the small dog park for 40 by 40 is
Because the
fine. I don't think you need a bigger one for the
30
small
and
dogs.
said to have
I
a
don't
visual
think
and
so.
a nice
I think it's the
No,
larger
No,
dog
the
park.
40 by 40 has been
It's a
really
good size for the
consistent.
small
I
dog.
agree.
Yes.
It's the large dog park, so what is this, 50 or 80?
50.
50. So you're saying, Dan, what were you thinking, 100 by what?
What was it? 100
The
by
original
80?
stake, I think, was 100 by 80. Ed, if you want to think.
And
So
then
make it
and then
80
was-
by 80.
And then it was reduced to 80 by 80.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, make it 80 by 80 and let's take a
Yeah,
look
let's take a
again.
look visually and see what it looks like.
Yeah, let's take a, and look at
Yeah,
it.
I like Dan's idea of putting that string so we can see what it is. All right.
All right, and one more thing, since, Andy, we want to put that peat stuff,
The pea gravel?
peat gravel, yeah, because that's important to start the, since this is at a angle, because, can we put some retainer on the lower part so
it doesn't
it
wash
doesn't
away.
wash out?
Yeah,
So
it's
then you
sloping.
can, yeah, so then you can push it back again.
Yeah,
So those are basic things. And bring the water to the park.
You gave us an estimate last time.
$3,000 you said to bring the water.
Question,
Five,
Andy,
five.
when we had,
Five.
Julie, you might know the answer. When we had the police station, temporary police station over there, did we have a water line there?
Oh, yeah.
So there's probably a water line.
There's probably a water line
Somehow.
there.
We found electric, we couldn't find a shut-off box.
Yeah,
I'm
call
sure it's
Mike
there.
Bruno out of retirement to
Yeah.
find out where the water is.
No,
Yeah.
David Hall.
Yeah,
might
you
be a
would know.
water
I'm
line
sure
there.
there may be a
Yeah,
line
if it
there
is,
already.
it's better, but the idea is, we'll get
I
a water connection.
But I
and,
mean, but Dave did the
Yeah, I
site,
called him.
yeah.
Dave Hall.
Pit gravel and make sure that it doesn't wash out, so we can
Yeah,
put
because
it
there's
in.
you can
there's
make-
an angle.
Yeah, with a double doors and the
Man
garbage.
trap.
Yeah, man trap, exactly.
There'll be no terrorists in our door.
I don't want to.
So you're doing another
Am I doing an
iteration?
estimate?
Huh?
Are we doing a layout first, or am I doing an estimate first?
I think what you ought to do, from what I'm hearing, is do an 80 by 80.
So 40 by 40 is
40.
good, okay.
And I think that with posts with a string is a very,
Very good idea.
It's
It's not-
visual,
The
visual.
post got to be
Do the
4 or
post
5
by
feet
the
high,
string and
because
the
otherwise
string.
somebody's going to trip on it
Yeah,
with the string on top. Can we do that? Do we have metal stakes or something that are 4 or 5 feet?
The rebar?
Who's going to trip on it?
If you have a string across the ground that's
Oh,
less than
what do you
a foot-
say, put a stake and
temporarily,
put the
we'll go
top,
take a look and take it off.
you put that string on top, not at the bottom, or the, whatever it is.
There's heat.
And let's
So
get,
just from a, it is a
and the
public.
pea gravel's
it-
better than wood chips, right?
It's a
So-
public space. I'm a little hesitant from a safety perspective to leave tripping hazards out there. I know that doesn't seem like a tripping hazard, but
No, it could be, I agree.
Yeah, I
But
just
can you
don't
just do it and at a time that everybody can go
right,
take
I
a look
think,
and
yeah, I
then
think,
remove
yeah, I
it
think
immediately?
if you had a council meeting, you could
Yeah.
have it set, you could
Okay.
see it and
Yeah,
pull
that
it
works.
down.
I think that
It's-
would work for us.
The next council meeting is
When is the
August,
next?
August 13th.
August 13th.
Can you do it time so everybody goes, takes a look
Yeah,
and,
bring us an
And that would
estimate
be
for that
within-
size with pea gravel. Let's get an answer about the water line
yeah.
prior to that.
I think we can find out from the, somebody must know about it.
And
Yeah, I could always call. I could call
David
the
Halls?
older super. I could call David Halls, but I could also
Let's
call
make it
Bob
all-
Butel, the original.
let's
super
make it
Oh,
easy.
Bob
I call-
Butel
I
might
call
know,
Bob.
yeah.
And, I
Carl.
think when it comes
Get
to,
turf paint.
when it comes to bells and whistles, that's where
Spray-
that's
spray.
where the donations will come in.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Let's get a basic park
Yeah.
up and running.
I had
And then the-
high lath.
No, we're gonna use turf spray.
We can use both. We can put some lath in and instead of
And
putting a
I'm
rope
going,
with
I'm
some
going to
chips over it.
suggest
What
that
we
we
could
have
do is
a
we could
dog
lay it
park
out.
committee of
And
citizens
the night
that are going
the
to
meeting will start.
oversee it, with obviously, similar to some of the, like the
Yeah.
community garden and stuff like that. So-
Fine, that sounds good.
Okay, the next is the Fister's Bond. That was simple.
Oh, you want? I guess we want to pass. Yeah, I think so. We had Fister's Pond. You're getting kind of a late entry of a submission from us, only because we were receiving prices literally up to 5 o'clock today.
Okay, but did you finally get some that were in the ballpark?
So they're a little bit higher than we anticipated. I'll tell you, and I'll explain the reason why once it's passed out. If you turn to the second page, is kind of an 11 by 17 pullout. So we submitted to ultimately what would be 12 contractors. 9 said they were going to submit to us. Only 4 actually submitted to us. So the reason the ones that didn't submit, what their reasoning was, they didn't believe that they can get the job done in our time frame because of, they're very busy right now. The guys who did submit, Hutton, Ferraro, Montana, and Berto. Berto is currently working for you on the Culver project, and they're doing a great job. They're actually almost done. Montana, Ferraro, and Hutton have all done dam projects of this nature and rehab projects, so they're very good. These are all contractors that have done this kind of work. What you'll find interesting, hopefully, is Hutton's 38,470, Ferraro's 38,800, and Montana's 39,500. That's all closed bids submitted to us. It's such a close number, we even questioned it. we called all three, and what they said was, and I don't want to get too much into the detail of the gate itself, but the way the dam works now is it kind of slides into a channel, and then when you want to lower the water, you pick it out of the channel. We want to make the water surface more flexible. We want to make the gate able to go down and not just have to go up, so we can bring the gate down. The only way to do that is to have a contractor come in and actually excavate in front of the dam a little bit, dewater it, set up dewatering, take his measurements, order a gate that's hopefully a standard gate, not a non-standard gate. Once he orders the gate, well, when he's done, he undewaters it, goes away for like 4 to 6 weeks, comes back with the standard gate, dewaters it again, sets it up, and that process is costing us about $10,000 more. I think the price is very reasonable. I think it's a reasonable price. I know your budget for this project was $50,000, but I think going to, I think it's like 62 is very reasonable. You get your dam, it would work right. You get your trash rack on it. You get the top of the dam will be now be fixed all the way. I think it's a really reasonable number. So we're definitely recommending it based
Which
on
one?
our
You
discussion.
lost me, but where's the 60?
Well,
When
we
you
were
add
adding
the
in all the other costs, the
engineering,
professional costs, the
the-
permitting costs.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
which one are you going with, 4?
We're going, no, we're going to first, the lowest guy. We're going with 38, Hutton, 38, 470. Bidder one.
And that includes that gate you're talking about?
Yeah, it includes everything, includes the project completed.
Okay,
And how do we get to the 60,000, Andy?
that's the.
That's you adding our
engineering.
costs, the DEP fees and all the other stuff.
And you don't have it here showing everything.
I didn't yet, no. Those fees were, those fees basically take that number plus 25, and that's the total number you can spend.
And 25 is your fees, DEPs, and everything else.
Correct.
And for the most part, that's already been spent.
Already been spent.
Okay.
So if the council decides that you'll go with your recommendation,
So 63,
give us what you consider to be the reasonable timeframe now?
So as soon as you decide to award it, once you award it, it allows me to sit with Hutton right away. I would engage them immediately, and they're waiting for a call tomorrow. We want to bring them down to the site, bring them in a room, get the nature center people involved, get them on site right away to dewater and uncover that sluice gate to see what's actually there. Once they do that, then we can find out if the gate's a standard gate or it's going to be a special gate. If it's a specially made gate, it's going to take this project out to a different time frame. I'll get back to you with that. If it's a standard gate, if we could fit a standard gate, probably could have the gate on site in 6 weeks. It'll be installed by first week of September. Done.
Andy,
But every day we delay here
So,
is a day.
go ahead, Max, please.
Andy, I just added up 38,470 plus 25,000 is 63,470.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not 62, it's 63,470.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I want to make sure that everybody understands.
So, Lisette, if we go with this recommendation, when can we,
Yeah, as we did. Yeah.
when can we get this done?
Plus or minus 1,000 or 2.
Yeah.
You could certify the funds, you already have the.
You have this.
it
Yeah, we could,
It was
we
a-
could amend
This is
the
in
agenda
case of
to add a
spending half a
resolution
million.
awarding
Yes.
contract.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Okay.
This time is of the essence. I'll draft the language of the resolution tomorrow, Susan can certify the funds, and Andy can get working on it.
Shama, Max, Jeff,
Sure.
okay with you?
Yeah.
Good.
But let's finish the project. This will do the basic gate and what?
And a
What-
trash rack.
And a, and,
And a trash rack.
and a track. What about the next steps?
Well, once this is done,
We may or may not
Well,
need.
there's
we're done. We can consider, then it's up to the nature center people, if they want to go forward to something else, then make a presentation.
Okay, but that's what I want to make sure that they understand.
No, he
Andy,
She said we would do it.
Andy, once this is done, the funds get returned.
But it's not changing.
And if you need anything else, if you need a few fish or something, let us know now.
No funds get returned at this particular moment.
Just doesn't get spent.
Okay?
It doesn't
They
get,
don't
you don't
get
spend it.
spent.
You don't spend it.
They're not
You don't spend it,
allocated
but
for,
then we get
they're not
re-
We're
allocated.
not
In
spending
your
that.
next budget, you could, yeah, you could.
No, because they get returned then, being not spent, we return them to the open space.
Yeah, if we don't spend it, we'll return it, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Once we get, once this is done, we will
If this is done in September, we're not going to return the funds to open space in the middle of September. But we will return them eventually if we don't use them.
why
Eventually
not?
meaning?
Huh?
Why not?
What is eventually?
Why not?
Why not at the end of the
It's
budget
it
year?
for me.
Well, yeah, the end of the budget year, though, is not till December 30th.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to spend any more money.
I'm not
in
suggesting,
specific
all I'm
systems.
saying is, because we put it, we
I
did
mean,
set it
but that's
aside, you gotta give them an opportunity to take a breath and come back and say, well, you know, there's something else we want to do, well, I'm not saying we have to do it.
No, we don't.
I already put it in.
Well, we didn't have to allocate all that money too, but we did.
Yeah.
Because
So, but I can.
that was the number given at that time.
It was whatever.
No, I can, I checked it out.
Okay, so we
Bobcats
are
on the line.
at, we've done.
Okay, so next we're at the senior center.
Yeah, the senior center. All right.
You don't need me anymore, do you?
What? Anything else for our borough engineer? You want to chime in on bamboo?
I know I have a little knowledge, we have a bamboo problem in Montville. If you want, I give you my knowledge of what we're doing there.
Yeah, what is your knowledge? Because somebody put bamboo on my property.
So in the borough of Montville, we just went through, in the borough of Montville, we just went through at the end of Montville Avenue. We had a massive bamboo problem that bordered two properties in the municipal right of way that's unimproved. We have a guy on staff, his name is Gus DeBlasi, he has all those licenses for all stuff including bamboo. And the people that lived on both sides of the bamboo that had it on their property too, had children. So bamboo can easily be cut to the ground. You could use I think it's called a systemic pesticide, which will actually get into the bamboo, kill it, and take care of it. You probably treat it once or twice. But the neighbors were at least a little concerned about it because they had small children. At least one house had very small children. So our guy went up there and said, there is another method for killing bamboo. It takes more time. And we did the first process, which is you take the bamboo, cut it to the ground. As soon as you cut it to the ground, you excavate off about 3 to 4 inches of the soil over the roots. You uncover the entire area and you let the roots see sun, see light,
In the sun.
and they start to die because they need to be covered. Bamboo's one of the few weaknesses bamboo has is their roots have to be covered.
So-
So then what happens is you'll start getting roots come up, you'll start getting shoots come up, a lot of it dies, you cut them again, and you re-scrape and recover again. It's going to grow a little less, you do it one more time, you recover again. Usually that takes care of it, but it probably will require a treatment.
This is
Of
the
a
borough
systemic
property
pesticide.
you're talking about, is it? It's private.
This was there was an agreement between the borough and two property owners because it was on our property and on theirs, so it was a tri-party agreement to work on
But
the
this
properties.
is different in that the problem emanates from a private residence.
So that's how this problem started. A private residence planted bamboo which grew across the borough right away into another property.
Right.
So,
And then they moved. Which, yeah.
Oh, wow.
They left the problem behind.
Did they do anything like an ordinance prohibiting bamboo?
They have not yet.
Is that something
No, we
that's?
shouldn't do that.
There's towns that have done it.
A lot
I think
of-
Mawa's done it.
Yeah, you have a list, a lot of towns
Yeah,
have
there's a
done
number of towns that are doing it statewide. It's very invasive.
What's the
It's
name
really-
of that pesticide that you can put? Because
I get you names. I believe that the generic names it's systemic pesticide, which means that the bamboo stalks will absorb the pesticide, pull it into its system, and eventually kill it from the inside out. It's not you don't spray it topically. You spray it once you cut it. I can get you specific names.
I would
which haven't,
appreciate,
but-
because I have a problem with bamboo. My neighbor, the previous neighbor who got bankrupt, he planted, and the people that bought the property, now both properties are getting overcome by
So,
bamboo.
right,
So I cut them
the
all
way
the
I
way.
understand it, just
Yeah.
so you know, if you're going to use the chemical root,
Yeah,
you have to get every piece of bamboo because you leave one shoot
You're
yeah.
done.
because it only goes inside. What gets sprayed on it goes in that one and kills that root. Doesn't get the rest of it. Bamboo's a real bugger. It's a tough one to fight. It's fightable though. Just
Okay.
it takes effort. Takes
Well,
effort.
hold on, so let's go back to the very beginning here. That is, we have a email from a resident who apparently has a similar problem to what you have, Max.
Yeah,
A neighbor planted it, now it doesn't know
yeah.
the tax lot boundaries. So my question to the council is, do we want to take a stand against bamboo? I'm not aware of any aesthetic values or any pluses to having bamboo in our community. And it appears that in more cases than not, it becomes obtrusive to the neighbors.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we ban bamboo, I would assume the ones that are here would probably be bamboo's grandfathered in. But we could also make it as part of that ordinance, and I'm sorry Bill's not here, that, any property owner that has bamboo has to, somehow
Maintain it.
take care of the neighbor,
Well, you can maintain. So bamboo is maintainable with a vertical wall. I think if you penetrate 24 inches of soil with like a metal sheathing, it will stay and it won't go under. There's a certain depth it will not penetrate past.
Well, I'm thinking there was bamboo on the corner of East Clinton and Engle Street.
Yeah.
and it was, the only place it's gonna go is out towards the street. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a corner property. And eventually, they conceded and cut it down because it was taking over everything.
This particular
But it's gonna
problem
go
is,
all the way
located
up
on Gordon
along
Avenue.
that,
Yeah.
the edge is gonna go
also-
all the way
So
up.
once again, the question is, do we want to consider doing an ordinance?
Because there's also bamboo on the curb line way up on Mayflower. When you go into the block, it's just a row right at the curb. And eventually that's going to undermine.
So if the consensus is to
Yeah.
consider an ordinance, we could ask Bill to look into it.
Yeah, 'cause there's a number of examples.
There's probably a few
listed.
dozen just in Bergen
Oh,
County, let
right
alone the
here.
state probably has
Yeah.
100.
And
It's a very invasive
Thoughts?
species,
Emerson,
we need to
I
do
like
something.
bamboo.
I like it too,
Hillsdale.
but if you
I
plant,
like bamboo.
Well,
I mean, you guys can.
Well, the real problem is when people don't take, it's like anything else.
Take care of it.
Everything is good
Yeah.
until it's abused.
yeah, exactly,
So,
okay.
I
I
don't
would-
know. We
One
need
of
to-
the other things that we can consider before we take any council action is just in a future newsletter reminding residents about the invasive nature of bamboo.
We've done that.
Well,
The
People
thing,
need to be
the
reminded.
issue here though is that removal,
I think so.
there's a cost associated with it. And so that's why it becomes literally a neighbor-on-neighbor dispute. Because the person, the two neighbors who are being affected don't feel as though they should have to pay out of their pockets
I mean.
and to treat it. And we don't have anything to force the neighbor where the problem emanates from to take care of
What I
it.
would suggest, we do something about generic invading species,
Yeah, I was just going to say,
including
why pick on
bamboo.
just bamboo?
And all the invading species, you should be responsible.
Well, I'm not familiar with any other species. of-
Anything. I
Well,
mean, if you have plants which, if you plant X, which I don't want in my yard, then you should be responsible for making sure it stays in your
And we
yard.
can specifically name bamboo,
as
Such
one
as-
such
as one of
Right.
such an invasive.
Our current ordinance, basically, we do have something that relates to what's called obnoxious growths and debris.
Okay,
So we have a title, but we don't have anything that specifies bamboo. It really focuses on brush, weeds, ragweed, dead trees, stumps, etc.
so we can add.
Add bamboo to that.
Well, might the simplest step
Solution
forward
maybe
be
to add-
just to amend that to include
Yeah.
bamboo?
I think that you need more than just the name, and that's why you have several examples of ordinances that are specifically related to bamboo.
Assuming Bill comes, I'll speak to him after the meeting and ask him to take a look at this. And
Something
so,
is wrong. with
Lisette?
it.
are you prepared
Yes,
to
I'm
respond to
wondering
this
what's
email?
happened to him.
Well, when this gentleman had contacted us, we had notified code enforcement, and code enforcement had gone, but like Jill said, there was no mechanism for enforcement.
Law enforcement.
So why don't you just tell these people that we're considering creating or amending an ordinance to cover a situation like this? So, Jewel, as you envision the amended ordinance, of the new ordinance, if something like this was to happen, is the neighbor who planted the bamboo, or whether, are they responsible for the costs associated with the other neighbor removing it?
It varies from town to town,
Well, I
but
think I think we should have
that's
that.
the most onerous.
I think we should have that, if,
How do you prove that they planted it
if
first?
an
Yeah, I was
invasive-
just going to say, what if I
Exactly.
bought a house and there was bamboo there, and nobody told me that the
That's
That's
what
why, that's why I have
is.
inspections. Seriously, I'm not being facetious.
Yeah,
then that should be pointed out
Goes
if
with-
I'm,
The bamboo goes with the land.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you for your expertise. We solved that problem.
I'll get you the name and pesticide, the systemic pesticide.
Was that something you really want to spray? I mean,
Yeah, no, it's safe to spray, so you have the right, you should have
It's
a licensed
safe?
person come and do it. Yeah,
It's not poisonous?
You should have license, well.
And just so
yeah,
you're
I mean,
aware,
it's just- that's
the
anything besides
location
bamboo.
where the complaint came
No,
from
I
is
think it's
Gordon
very safe
Avenue.
for it, families they plant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, thank you.
all
Where
right.
is
trying to
Gordon
reach-
Avenue?
I'm trying to reach,
Where is Gordon Avenue?
Where's Gordon Avenue? Gordon Avenue is, where Newcomb, and
Oh,
it's crosses Tenafly Road.
Oh.
It's the next, it's Gordon and then Davenport,
Right, got
and
it.
then Cresskill.
This is the list of just herbs that are invasive species, non-native to New Jersey.
So I'm
Okay,
sure there's
so
lots
there's
more. I
a-
think we can give it as an example, but it should say invasive species such as bamboo.
Okay, so I certainly ask that, having read Max's email, basically discussing the meeting that was held at the senior center, I suggested that we put this on the agenda so that we can discuss where, if anywhere, we want to go with this committee and with the
Are you coming to the
process.
meeting or what?
Bill,
I'm sorry?
he's trying to find out what happened with Bill.
7 o'clock, man, you are late
Oh.
30 minutes.
He thought it was 7:30.
He's even late for 7:35,
Yeah.
which is not usually.
Which is not, he's here 15 minutes before everybody else.
Yeah.
All right, come over. But 25 minutes for Bill to be here. They thought it was Tuesday.
Are you serious?
I just talked to him.
He thought it was Tuesday?
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Okay. So you brought this up, Peter. Let's go back to the basics. For 7 years or 5, 6 years since I'm over here on the council, everybody said that we need a new senior center, from Julie to Becky and everything. So in my mind, we do need a new senior center. The question is, do we rebuild the existing one? Do we go across the street, try to do something like that? And I think that the meeting over there that we had was pretty good, because we had a pretty good attendance. And I want to thank Shama for pretty much taking notes over there. One of your proposals is to do nothing. I don't think that we could do
No, that's not a proposal. That's one of the options.
options. I don't think that we could nothing for the seniors after so many years. I think that, and it's open to everybody to, they deserve a new center. We asked specifically if, because the seniors are so sensitive to taxes, they voted unanimously not to have anything that will increase the taxes. And at the end of the session, the chairman of the board of trustee asked basically, does anybody wants to buy the property across the street and build another one over there? And there was not a single taker for that. And it's not because they don't want it, it's because they're afraid of the taxes and the extra cost that's gonna cost over there. My personal opinion is that we know that we need one. We had a few memos over here going back and forth, which was showing like a pissing contest. Unless you do that, you're not gonna get it, or unless you do this, you're not gonna get it. That's not the way to kind of go about trying to build a new center. I think at this moment in time, we should start resetting the thought and come together as a group, and probably within a month or so come back and say, this is what you have a committee, we talked about that, and we should come back to the council and you and say, this is what we think we should do for the senior center. That would be my.
Shama?
I was taking notes there when the meeting was, and this is my observation, that there is this desire or feeling that this center needs to be renewed or new or whatever, but there hasn't been there's no real data to back it up. I don't think the center staff has the time to spend time in saying we have 8 hours of programming and we have 4x10 rooms and we need 8x20 rooms. Real mathematical calculations say, or as somebody at the meeting suggested, could you extend the hours an hour or a couple of days a week, have a little more time? That kind of needs assessment has not been done in a professional way. It's just anecdotal. Yeah, we are running short of space. Yes, we have to cancel classes because we're running into other classes. I think we something has to be done, because at some point this building will need to be refurbished, renovated, redone, whatever. I don't think it's going to be done right this moment, but before we do anything, we should try to find out what is the real need? Is it more classes? Is it large group classes, small group classes? Are more people going to come? Are they not going to come? Before we say, let's build this, and then, we say, oh my God, that was too big or too small. So I think that has to be done. I don't know who would do that. Maybe a committee of citizens, because I hate to see us spending money on some expensive consultant to come and do this, but maybe a group of citizens who would be willing to spend the time and effort to do it. It doesn't have to be done immediately in 1 week, but gather the data, and I'm sure the senior center has tons of data because everybody signs in, they know how many people attend classes, how long the classes are, which classes need to, they could do with 2 of those or whatever. I mean, I don't know how it's done. But we should do that before we make any sort of forward movement on this.
Okay. Let me give you my assessment of the meeting. I found it a very interesting meeting. First of all, I never suggested that we do nothing. The 3 options that I presented in my email was to disband the committee, because the second option is to identify and consider improvements to the current center. And the third is to consider negotiating a price for across the street, which if we didn't want to build anything right now, we could use it for parking. But the one thing I came away from that meeting was that the seniors do not want to move out of that center, even on a temporary basis, to go to the McCandless Room or go to churches or go anywhere else. They don't want to do that. So, they were loud and clear about that. As far as a needs assessment, I agree with you, and I think we were criticized for not doing that before we even had this meeting. But I don't think a true needs assessment can be done by a group of citizens. You really need a professionals to come in and do it. I'm not saying we have to spend $10,000 on it.
Yeah.
But I if we're going to do a needs assessment and use that as a guide to what we want to do in the future, it's got to be done right. And citizens can do only so much. I would agree with Max that when the purchase of the property across the street was presented, would you like to have taxes raised so that we can buy the property across the street? Of course, everybody said no.
But nobody said about that.
The truth of them, yes, you did. And the truth of the matter is,
I didn't even ask the
if we're-
question. It was the
if-
Board of
if-
Trustees.
if
I didn't even
if we're
got
going to
involved with
build a new center, it's going to come out of tax money.
Yeah, but you
So-
said that I asked the question. No, that's not
Well-
true. It was the chairman of the Board of Trustees asked without even asking me. It was,
Anything that we're going to do, whether it's build a new center, buy the property across the street, refurbish the current center, taxes
Of
will
course it's going
be
to
paid
cost.
by taxes. Okay, so.
But how much? That's the
Well,
issue.
that is very true. So in my mind, if the council does not have the
5 mil.
desire to consider a purchase of that property, then the options are really relatively limited. We need to look at that building and
What
decide
are
how
you
we can
talking,
improve it.
which property are you now talking about? The parking
A large
lot
parking lot
which
that
belongs to CVS or
CVS.
that empty house?
No, not the empty house.
Okay, the large
I
plot.
mean, Jewel?
Now, I just want to mention, when you talk about doing a needs assessment and possibly doing one with professionals, there is actually an appropriation already authorized to do an assessment for a community center. And so
You
there's
mean we
already,
have money there.
there's already an
So
appropriation.
could
Yes.
that be considered to be used for doing an assessment for the,
If we choose to. How much money was set aside
I think it's about
for the
18.
community center
a
assessment?
ton.
It's about 18,
Just in
right?
communities.
What, 18,000?
I think it's
I thought
18.
I thought it was 25,000.
Yeah.
wow, that's a lot.
There was,
Remember, it was a community study.
Hey, we
No,
get
no, no,
$500
no.
million for the pond.
It started out at 25, but part of it was used to do the assessment, the environmental assessment.
Okay, so
So there's a
it
balance
was
of
really
amount.
for community feasibility, could be used for multiple
Yeah.
things. We
Yeah.
set aside
Well, the-
25 and we
Well, the
used it for
council
two
can
things.
decide if
Yeah.
they'd like to
I really think before you go anywhere, we need to know what needs to be done. I mean, rather than just say, okay, let's do a center. Even if you decide to build a new one, you still need to know how many rooms, how much square footage.
What
kind of programming?
Yeah, what kind of
let's keep in mind,
Seniors are using
we're-
it,
we're
who does
basing
the
this-
classes,
We're basing this
a bunch of
action
stuff.
on the sense
It just-
that everybody wants a new senior center, that they need a big senior center. The reality of it is that I think we can all agree that the senior center is not where it needs to be. I mean, the condition of it. The building is well past its,
Yeah.
Its age.
We all agree.
It's,
We all agree on that.
okay,
Yeah.
so, and the question then becomes, do we need something bigger,
Well,
Okay.
and how big?
and how big?
How big?
So I think where we're headed is, if Susan, you could give us a sense of how much is available for that, and we can reappropriate it, and then we need to get some estimates as to, and when we.
Is this something we'll have to bid
You wouldn't
for?
even need to reappropriate
No,
it because
yeah.
it's defined as
Community.
a community center.
Okay.
And it is a.
Well,
do-
the
would
only
we
thing
have
is,
to
I
bid
think,
for it?
not necessarily, depends how, we need to.
You
we
can
need
do
to
an
get-
RFP.
We need to get a sense of the potential scopes of, we don't wanna have a
No,
huge thing.
of course not.
We want somebody to come in and interview the staff, interview the board of trustees,
Yeah.
interview some of the members, and get a sense of what the schedule is, what the needs are, et cetera.
We're talking about
Is that-
a preliminary
We're-
The
feasibility
other
study.
factor is we receive so much grant funding, if whatever changes will be recommended, if there's a caveat in those funds that were received for the generator, for the walkways, for so many projects, are there constraints that might affect that needs assessment? That has to be included.
Community block grants,
We've put a lot of money into the
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
almost every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Federal funds.
Well, I think it's time to take this step.
Yeah.
Because
We
I don't
have to,
wanna-
at some
I don't-
point we have
I don't want to start treating the center like we're
There's
treating
a light on those-
the air conditioning system here. Where
Exactly.
We're just throwing money.
Yeah, throwing good money after bad.
I just
Jeff,
mentioned,
please.
no, I just mentioned it because to do a needs assessment, you have to look at everything, that, that has to be included in the.
What I.
Hold on, Jeff's
Go
got the
ahead.
floor.
I just have a question, because we're discussing this, I'm a very big believer in assessing needs before going forward, but I was a little confused, and you all know the players in the senior world better at the center, but Becky writes in her last paragraph in this, June 14th, my opinion, blah, blah, doing all these assessments/surveys will be a waste of time. Now, if that's the attitude, and we're talking about asking the director what the needs and are, and their attitude is it's a waste of time, that's not a good start. Now, I don't know if I'm misreading that, but that looks very clear in plain English.
And also this, that is to leave the center as is, and when an opportune time comes for a center, then proceed. I mean, it's not like.
Jeff, I'm going to be perfectly blunt.
Yeah.
I think that the staff at the senior center was very, put it politely, taken back by the way this thing went forward. And because if you want to read here, where it says, second, I feel that I've been truly misrepresented at the hearing, and, also, I feel comments from the meeting that we had with Jamie, Jewel, and myself were not taken into consideration. So, with that attitude, I can understand a concern about, let's do a needs assessment, or you're not going to pay attention to what I'm, we really have to impress upon the staff of the senior center that their opinion counts, and I honestly believe that they know better than anybody else what the needs are. Now, we need a professional to draw that out of them and to
Well, there should
describe
be a
it.
lot, actually. They do have people sign up for classes. There's a lot of data that's probably
It's
sitting
already
there.
there.
Not
It's
only-
already
And
there.
we already talked
So,
about
but
this
you
at
asked a
prior
specific question as to why they're
Right.
leery about a needs assessment, and I'm giving you a sense.
Well,
that
no,
I don't
I
think
actually
they-
asked
I don't-
the question, well, it was more of a concern about if this is,
Because I think the way the process ran out, that
So-
really bothered them.
so are we going to have buy-in from
But
her when we go forward?
Yeah, but I want to say something about that. When we had the meeting with the Board of Trustees, the smaller meeting,
Yeah.
Becky, Michelle, everybody was there. after that, we had the meeting with Jamie and all, and if I'm, correct me if my memory is
Yeah.
wrong. And at that meeting, Becky said that other seniors had come to her and they did not kind of necessarily agree with what was discussed at that board, because at that meeting where the board members were, there had been discussion of moving the programs to other things, and there was general agreement that, yeah, if you want to tear down this building and fix it up, you've got to move the program somewhere else. There was a bunch of people there who said, yeah, that may have to be done. Some people disagreed, some people agreed, but the general was, yes, if you're going to physically remove that, redo that building, programs have to go somewhere else.
Even if you want to improve it.
Even if you want to
But the sense-
refurbish it.
At the big meeting, the sense was,
No.
don't do that.
Exactly, that was said. And then at the meeting with Jamie, Becky said that other seniors had come to her and said, no, we don't agree with that. But when we went to the big meeting, now she's saying that many seniors who spoke at the meeting are snowbirds and do not see how busy the center is, meaning that she didn't agree with what they said. So I really think it's just that everything is anecdotal. There is no backup data to support most of the what they are saying.
So we need an assessment.
Yeah, you need a needs
Period.
assessment.
Well, listen, I think we don't need any data to appreciate that that building needs some help.
Absolutely.
Okay, the question really becomes, you know,
What
if
do
we're
we
gonna-
need to
do we
replace
need-
it?
Do we need it bigger?
Exactly.
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 You
Do we need it
understand.
bigger?
If we make it bigger, what's the cost benefit?
Mm.
Okay,
Exactly.
what's the benefit of making it bigger? Is it going to be worth our while?
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Okay.
So
Jewel,
we're in agreement,
Jewel,
violent
how would
agreement.
you suggest proceeding with in the direction of a needs assessment?
Well, we have a basic outline, and I guess the next step would be for us to get back to you with an outline of what a needs assessment might consist of.
Can you
Because
do
it
that?
seems as though we want to do it on a fairly modest level.
Yeah.
Can you do that
That's
for
the
the
good
next
word.
meeting, please?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay.
I
Okay.
mean, is there an overcrowding issue right now?
But that's, you know,
No,
and
it's
it's,
not
I need to
just-
say is,
I
what
know the
classes?
building needs to be replaced, but
Yeah.
again, it's old, I've been there, and it's, you know, it needs to be improved, but is there an
Everybody
issue
ha-
where there's overcrowding?
That's what we need to
That's what
find
we
out.
need to
Susan?
exactly find out.
I've heard more than once from Becky and Michelle
Yes.
that nobody has ever been turned away from a program because there was no, I'm not talking about the trips. The trips fill up. There's an infinite number of seats on a bus or whatever. But I'm talking about these programs that, especially Tenafly residents, but in general, nobody gets turned away. The question becomes, in my mind, is are there more programs? Could we do more programs
Exactly.
if we had more space?
And more than that.
And do we really
over
need that
the next
more
10,
space?
15 years,
Right.
the growth of the town is going to be so much, we know because we have a
Yeah,
history,
easy.
and we can project the growth. If the growth goes so much, how many more people are we going to need to be able to,
Accommodate.
We're not going to have more people,
So-
but we'll have a lot more older people.
Right, right, right.
It's
Right.
even more than, the growth is
Yeah.
going to be twice as much
And do
in
we
the older
need
people.
more programs,
Yeah.
different types of programs
So,
require more
so
space,
that's what we
less
need a
space?
professional to give us the
Okay.
assessment.
Let's move on. Update memo.
Where are we now? Let's go back.
Update them, okay.
First item on the memo is the SRO Shared Services Agreement, which is on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah.
Has everyone had a chance to look at that? This is
Yes.
essentially the consensus agreement that came out of the series of joint use meetings that occurred, okay? Riverside Co-op street resurfacing, this is just an update also from Andy, which came out of our last meeting, which gives you the schedule for the Riverside Co-op. This is our regular street resurfacing program. You've already heard from Andy this evening about the municipal turf, and right now we're still on schedule with that. The breaking.
June, I'm sorry to interrupt the question. The start date and the completion date, they came back with us and we have more money. How do we do about adding streets?
Well, I think we talked about this before. This has to be closed out completely. What we would have to get is we would have to get the final change order,
right.
which tells us precisely what the cost was and how much is left. Once we know how much is left,
But
that
we
will
have the
define
cost already.
what we, no, we don't.
The good news
No,
is,
we're
not done yet.
if
We're not
if
done
this
yet.
gets done
Okay.
according to schedule by the middle of August, we'll have plenty of time to close it out and do more streets.
That's what I'm trying to make sure that we get it in
Right.
within this year.
Well,
But we can't tell you
Yeah.
how much today.
Yeah, okay.
This is all the streets right now, all at once.
The what?
All 5 streets at once. 4 and 3.
All right, so-
Breaking AIDS ride is
Sorry.
No, but they're all.
Susan?
Sorry.
It's a bike ride that goes through, as you can see, a significant portion of our area. The group has written to the chief. They've submitted a very detailed package with their route and everything. The chief has already given a preliminary okay, and if the council is okay with it, then he would go ahead and actually assign Sergeant Bazo to work with the group.
This is not unique or any
No.
Yeah.
bigger or different than any of.
Any other.
We usually have a couple of these a year.
Yeah.
Right, and as you can see,
And-
it involves several of our neighboring communities as well.
Okay.
The AARP senior grant, sorry to say, we were
Yeah, I'm sorry to
not
read that,
awarded.
Yeah.
Everybody always, they never tell you how much money they have, but they
Yeah.
tell you how many applications they got. And here we are again. But I guess the good news, at least, is that the Bergen County Human Services Grant is still in play. They've advised us that they will now be making the announcements in October. So obviously, they're thinking long and hard about it. Just gave you a recap, update on our events, and you had several reports that were provided, and we are continuing to provide the year-to-date PO report as well.
Okay.
Just ask a couple questions. Sure. Sorry for being late. Did I read correctly that we're doing Piedmont Road in the fall?
Yes.
Well, you missed the reasons why.
Yeah, Andy
because
was
of the
here.
process,
Yeah.
which is out of our hands.
There's a 2-week review by DOT, but there's a 30-day review by CSX.
So we're required, we can't avoid those steps.
And once we get the comments, we have to incorporate in the plan and then present.
Some time back, I requested that that tree on Columbus Drive be taken down right next to DPW. I don't know if they're planning on hoping to have it grow, but it needs to come down.
Which one is this, Tony?
As you make the turn, that big stump that's sticking up out of the ground.
The stump or the tree?
Tree, stump, whatever the hell you
Just
want
the
to call it.
stump, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like 25 feet tall. Baywood Avenue, the curb is all ripped out from snow plowing, needs to be replaced, and there's potholes. Cortland and Columbus, there's a town tree that's completely dead and is ready to come down, actually. So I would imagine they should look at that. And the lights at Hyler Park around the memorial are ripped out, again.
Oh, yeah, I saw that the other night in the concert, yeah.
But we
These
keep
are-
fixing them, we
these
gotta
are-
do something different.
These are ground lights that illuminate the path up to the monument. Yeah, we really need to do something different
I'm
because,
thinking a cage, maybe, I don't know. Or I don't know.
because they're too easy to,
Yeah.
come out.
And,
That's just, I'm afraid somebody's gonna get zapped, you know. Thank you.
One less rental.
Well, looking at that way.
That's right.
Let's take that off the record.
So, George, is it in Bill's bailiwick right now, the forthcoming lease for the train station? Is that in?
Oh, yes, we asked him to, both Lizette and I have spoken to him about that.
Okay, under correspondence, we already spoke about the bike ride, and there's a request, unless anybody has any issues, it's perfunctory
block party.
for a block party.
I didn't get invited.
They're inviting everybody, Max.
Then,
Resolutions, anybody question on the resolutions?
and another question, I just want to say that I'm going to have to abstain at the audit. It's 229 pages. I didn't have a chance to read it.
Which one is
Which
that?
one?
It's B, certified the audit, 2017 audit.
And I have just a quick question. For an explanation of the corrective action plan, what that is?
Well, we had, the CFO, in accordance with the budget, has to do a corrective, and the audit has to do a corrective action plan within, I think it's 45 or 60 days, 45 days from the date that the audit is closed. And they have to finish it by June 30. So they found 2 audit findings. And did you read the resolution? So then I had to address the two findings, and they were addressed, and we moved forward. The 2 audit findings is very, very good.
Okay. And then we'll just take a look at that next year, just make sure that
Well,
you did it.
And it's in best practices too. We get the best practices in October, and it'll ask you if you've had an audit finding more than once. And, you know, they do look at it, yes.
And piggybacking on that, we have the resolution, I did the ad, I need you to sign another group affidavit, thanks to the state, just saying that I gave you the audit and you saw what the findings were. We'll pass it around, there's 2 sets to sign.
Yeah, I asked
Okay.
Susan to be prepared to give the council an
Yes, sir.
update on where we are with the
Tax rates?
Tax rates.
Okay, so they have issued aid to the Board of Eds, and they have it, I did find the date, it's July 20th, 4 PM, to say whether or not they're gonna take the aid, and at that time, then they'll start working on the tax rates.
Sorry.
Right, we have no certified tax
We have
rates.
no
So
certified
the
tax rate.
question is, why wouldn't they take the aid?
I don't know why, I had a
Are
discussion
there
with another tax collector.
restrictions or?
I would think they would,
Yeah,
so,
well,
but-
the way you worded it, I was.
well, that's how they worded it.
That's how they worded it?
Yeah.
Okay, but I would
They have the
assume that,
option of not taking it, but I don't know why any
Why would
Board
they
of
not
Ed
take
What kind of
would not
a,
take it.
I'm sorry, what kind of a aid we talking about? I'm just.
School aid.
School aid.
Okay, so if you
asking
can
how much?
elaborate, no, if you can
Well, I
elaborate a
have
second.
reports, I did print out some of them.
If you just, 30 seconds, what is it, if they agree to the school aid and they have to, I'm just not familiar with it.
Well, if they agree to the school aid, then it'll reduce their portion of,
So there is a
Yes.
process where the school has to agree to a school aid and by a
To
certain
accept
date
the school
and
aid,
accept
right?
it to, and then,
Many receive
okay.
increase,
Is
some receive
Is there
decrease.
any reason not to accept it?
no, I can't think of one. So I talked to another tax collector about it, and they said they could.
And Susan, these these recommendations are standard stuff at the back, those things about efforts to reduce the amount of purchase orders being issued after good. Is this something just automatically, is it something?
It's not automatic, but I can tell you that that's it's a finding that they find a lot in all audits. Because it has something to do with purchasers. We're doing very well, we got down to 11 items. So it's not really overwhelming, I mean, they found that.
And do we not put all the bid threshold in the official minutes of the borough?
There was one resolution they focused on, but it was approved by ordinance, it was approved by the governing body on a bill list. They were really referring to a resolution, but the ordinance covered it, the purchase order covered it. You
They wanted
approved
belt
it.
and suspenders.
Right, we have a, we,
Shama, they
we- I
have to
think we
find
have a-
something.
I know.
Right, we
No, I
have
thought
a
the
pretty
report
tough
was pretty
auditor,
good,
so.
Susan.
Pretty good for an audit report, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Max, you had something for the good of the order?
Yeah, when we get over here, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me get to the, for the good of the order.
I had something now, I forgot.
That's it?
Okay, so for the good of the order, we all know that at this moment in time, there is a huge question about Roe v. Wade being overturned by a new justice of the court. What I would like to do is start a grassroots request and have a resolution issued by the board asking the state government to make the Roe v. Wade the state law in New Jersey.
I think you ought to wait till Bill is here, because I'm not, it would be great if we could just overturn and do our own laws that supersede federal laws, but I don't believe that.
The only thing that
I
I'm
don't-
asking is basically a resolution that requests the government of New Jersey
Just 2
to
pages.
make Roe v. Wade a law in New
Wait,
Jersey.
Roe v. Wade is a law right now.
The Roe v. Wade is a decision
It's
of
a
the,
decision, right.
yeah,
But if the Supreme Court was to overturn that,
it's
our
not
law,
empty.
state law would, I don't
No,
know,
no,
would have any.
if the Supreme Court overturns it, basically there is no law anymore governing the right of the reproduction. So we have to create that law. So that's what I'm trying to do. Put it on law, so if the,
Can you wait for Bill?
yeah, I absolutely can. Okay, I'm sorry, good. All right.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Something that's gone over my head.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the work session.
So moved.
All in favor? Do you folks need a 2-minute break before we go into the public meeting? No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
2-minute break.
Stretch our legs.
2-minute break.
Are we doing it the public meeting
We're
here?
gonna stay right here.
Oh, great.
The public comments starts right here for the public meeting.
I just need to straighten my legs.
Goes back to state law as to what.
All right, well, then I would agree that it would be nice to have this.
Second reading.
So the tax refund will come out to They have no idea what is
There is
going
no
on,
response. I want to
when the rate will come out.
But I'll give you something, I get frustrated, because let me show you something.
Oh,
Probably.
okay. Oh, boy. Do you know a guy named Andy?
I come with this thing in my mind that I'm going to bring it up at the budget. And then you forget.
That was not there.
Who are you going to bring it up? I don't remember. I should have written it down.
The board looks like we're on schedule. And then, that's the Ford.
Yeah, you went long.
What did you expect to
Okay, so,
happen by the next 10 days?
yeah, there, now, Bill, we got the tax returns in July.
I'm sorry.
I don't know the politics.
I didn't want to hear it. You really played that.
Still negotiating.
I showed up. I would have brought it up. A little overwhelmed.
On the table.
I have to pick up my bags.
Over here, this is, to make
If they
him
say
aware
that
about
the union had 20
No, that's
or 20 seconds, we're not going to do this.
It's part of
The
the.
union can step back and say, we're not going to negotiate for you, right?
No, that's actually.
Can the union say, we no longer will negotiate with you? None of us,
Yeah, but
none
they
of you
don't
are
have
paying back. I mean, it's such a crazy
I
thing.
know, and I don't think you
Details,
The balance of that.
Because
in order to get the deal, you need to
It's not
go
about
back.
negotiation.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to
Decision
be
by
with the minister
Congress
to
was
get
about
out.
first
Let me show you. And there was that stop over there, and Jeff, you know, told the guy to go there. Then he said that he was
support various political
So that's
individuals without giving people an option as to whether or not they
cameras
want
and
to.
internet, you know, and
So if I'm supporting Democrats, I really am a Republican. Why should my deal go to support?
And that's what they ruled against.
But it's a crazy situation. So then I guess they have to make new rules or what?
Well, they have to, make sure that anybody who is in the union at this point in time has made a choice. And that's what we're gonna talk about tonight, because it has to do with union cards, deductions, because we deduct.
I'll have, it has to do with making all the calculations.
I don't know,
But what we're
find
finding,
somebody
quite
by
frankly,
Friday.
Oh,
You just come in.
It's
And they actually don't have a choice.
the people that they have a way to basically.
It is a mess.
No, you would.
But, what we're also finding is that
Miss
we don't have too much to
America.
see.
What was that?
Yeah. Yeah,
They're in the.
I swear I did. I had it on for tomorrow. but
I have to-
Tuesday.
It's really only where you.
and now, every single session before the session, I call you.
Oppose it.
next
But it looks like for us it may go.
I never missed a meeting ever since 2003.
Okay, let me tell you.
It's the whole.
why didn't you go to a meeting today on Monday?
Because it's once a month.
Ago.
We all talk about it.
Because of that.
Next
Ah,
month.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Now you tell me that.
And then the.
Now we have to do it all over.
By 50,
Right.
a bit smaller than the teenage.
You know, Lisette, when you texted me, I left early, so I was all the way home. I got changed, went out into the yard, because I was going to work, help Mark Kucinich with something, but he got stuck at work late. So I said, I'll go out in the yard and I'll do some weeding. So I got my shorts on, went up, and I went to
Did you
plug,
deal with that beast?
I went to plug my,
I want to see that picture.
no, I went to plug in my, my tablet for tomorrow, because it was dead. They went,
Ready? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Peter, how do you want to deal with, we just closed the work session with good of the order. You want to do it at the end? Would we open the work session for the question that I have? You wanted to have Bill waiting over here for the,
We can do it under old business.
We can do it under old business, because
Okay.
now that you said it, it's old.
okay.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a good idea, too, next week. Okay, Lisette, Erin, you all ready? Good evening again. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, Suburbanite, Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Here.
Councilmember Bash?
Here.
Councilmember Grossman?
Here.
Councilmember Hader?
Here.
Councilmember Park?
Here.
Mayor Rustin?
Here. Minutes to be approved. June 12th, the work session. June 26th, the work session, the regular meeting, and the closed session. And July 2nd, the special meeting, the closed session. And July 5th, the special meeting. A motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain from July 26th because I was not here.
Bless you.
You don't want to take our word that the minutes were great, huh?
I mean, I take the word, but I cannot.
Okay,
I was
revisions to the
given
agenda.
July
You wouldn't know
my
anyway.
guess
You
is,
just got
your
it.
guess is as good as mine.
We are amending the consent agenda to add a resolution number 18-264 awarding a contract for the Fister's Pond Sluice Gate and track reconciliation to Hutton Construction.
Okay, and that's based on this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Public comments. I'll go around the room once, starting over here. You have anything to say? Stand up.
Speaking 50 Sherwood Road, for the dog park, and I'm not heavily involved in a lot, but I was involved in it a few years ago. My impression is that a rectangular, longer than wider, is better than a square, because people can spread out and control their own dogs wide better if it's not the same dimension. And given the space up there, so something that's not, instead of 80, 60, 100 or something, where the dogs can separate and the owners can have more control. Maybe a better alternative.
For the big dog specifically.
For the dog, sorry, for the big
I'll
dog.
mention
Yeah.
it, I'll mention it to Andy, maybe we can just flatten it out a little bit, same
Yeah.
size. Any
I just wanted.
name for the record, please?
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street.
this yours?
Thank you for the dog park. We're really excited about this. I did give a list of my concerns about the dog park, and I'd like to make it very clear that I would be very willing, as many people are in town, to help raise money for items that are not on the list. So if the engineer could specify the cost of these additional items so we know how much to raise, it would be helpful. And it wasn't clear to me, are you going with a 4-foot fence or a 6-foot fence for this?
What's
on
4 foot.
Because a 4-foot fence does allow many dogs, particularly the hunting dogs, to leap over. And the reason why you have a separate small dog park and large dog park is because larger dogs may suddenly decide a little rat-like dog is prey. Which I can understand, but the
All the
fence,
county parks are 4 feet.
as I understand it, within the last 6 months, there has been at least one mauling or death in Overpeck, and they definitely does happen. I hear this through the dog park rumor mill, so I don't have a newspaper article that I can point to for this, and I didn't do an Oprah for that.
Thank you.
It is a problem.
Anybody else care to speak? Please.
Mary Salpukas, 85 Hillside Avenue, in Tenafly. I wanted to thank the council for your continued interest in the senior center. And I just want to comment that it is really wonderful in town to walk to the library and go through the recce park for the little tots. And so you really are covering the full spectrum of age. And I think that is a wonderful thing. And we seniors are interested in the little ones as well as in our own community. I think one of the, to clarify a little bit about Becky, at least what she said to me, is that if we're going to do a needs assessment, it should be professional. Somebody who really understands the needs of seniors. And you could talk to her and confirm that, but that's my understanding. My other understanding is that the seniors feel that the time, if we were to be moved out of a year and a half or 2 years, in our lives is very long and means that we might lose people, staff, instructors, and so that's the reluctance to just say, oh, tear it down and we'll go anywhere, that it's very precious, and this is a place that people need and go several times a week. So your continued interest and a continued exploration with a needs assessment that is professional may help clarify some of the issues. And I think, but the continuity is something that apparently, when somebody asked, there were a lot of hands raised, as I understand it, to support the idea of continuity, that we don't just want to scatter, that it's that continuity of program and staff is very important. And we'll have a continuing dialogue, and as members of the Board of Trustees, we are very interested, and I think the needs assessment, including the fact that we are supposed to be a shelter in case of a storm. I mean, there are a lot of considerations. And by the way, I sat next to Mary Ann Barcelona the other day at our senior lunch. So it's really wonderful that we are a community, and I appreciate again the fact that you are very serious. And I think we're feeling a little neglected for a while, and I think that over the last few years, we really have felt your support, your interest, your coming there and seeing what's going on. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for those that may not be familiar, she's talking about the toddler camp that's out here during the week. It's
Aren't they cute?
They're right outside my window, and yes, they are cute. I'm sure. It's a lot of fun.
And the again, the hiring of the staff is just outstanding. They are outstanding. Our staff is outstanding.
Yep.
So somebody is really doing a good job
Thank you.
in getting good people.
You want to speak?
No, thank you. I think
Anybody
Mary
else care to
stated it
speak?
very well.
Robin Pierce, 42 Northern Place, and I came in support of the dog park. I'm looking forward to us having one, so thank you to
You're welcome.
Mayor and Council for considering it, and I hope we are going to have it. Is what's coming forward to make it
Well,
happen?
we're going to finally decide on the size of it, and that's really we really made up our minds as far as the location, which was always the biggest stumbling block. Now we'll do the size, and we'll get moving, because as long as a year and a half is in a senior's life, a year and a half in a dog's life, my dogs are starting to wonder if they're going to be around when this park gets built. So thank you, and I'm serious also that I think that this should be overseen by a citizen committee. Okay, and one that not only
that's a great idea.
not only that will they raise money, but they can I think a dog park needs to have rules and needs to have a demeanor about it, and I think a citizen group can handle that better than the government. So.
And I think the location is fantastic, because a lot of dog parks don't have any trees, like Overpack, That's a great space.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Because you're here by the
Absolutely.
Borough Center, it's easy to walk downtown, like I do, stop by Miller's, get coffee, go over to Hyler. So I think having a place where I can take my dog off leash.
And you'll even be able to walk through Oresco Park.
Yeah.
All right, close the public comment section. Motion to approve the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended.
So moved?
Second,
Second?
please call the roll.
Councilmember Barzalato? Councilmember Bash?
Yes, with the exception of R18 to 44, I'm going to abstain on that one.
Okay. Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yeah.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Thank you. Public hearings. Lisette?
The following ordinance is published herewith, but first read by title only on June 26, 2018, and posted on the bulletin board of the lobby of the Municipal Center. Ordinance number 18-14, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly entitled General Licensing, and more particularly amending Section 4-4, Canvassing and Soliciting. Ordinance number 18-15, an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $2,997 for roof repairs at the Tenafly at the railroad station.
Public comment on either of the two ordinances? Okay, I will just let the council know that I did had lunch sitting next to Bobby Thompson, who did the work on the railroad station roof, and he said it was a little more than he expected, but it, came in under the allocated amount, and he said that the problem should be solved. So I'm very pleased. Dan, you want to make the motion, please?
I'm making a motion.
I move to pass. Come on, Dan.
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinances 18-14 and 18-15, that notice of same shall be published according to law.
A second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yep.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, committee reports, my favorite time of the meeting. Dan, you have anything?
No, but the TNC would like to take a look at our ordinance about enforcement up there.
I'm sorry?
Enforcement. They have issues with calling the police up there, and they want to smooth out the ordinance so they can get enforcement.
What kind of enforcement of what?
Like just troublemakers in general.
Well, you're the liaison, have you mentioned anything to Chief Chamberlain?
No, not yet.
All right, well, that might, either that or go through Jewel,
Yes.
and just let us know what the complaints are,
Yep.
and I'm sure they'll be addressed. Anything else?
No, that's
Tony, you have anything? No. Jeff, you have anything?
Two things. One, the Historic Preservation met last week. They gave a certificate of appropriateness to a house that wanted to change the existing stucco at 80 Highwood. That was approved by Chairwoman Noose. They also discussed the roof repairs having been done and the fact that the cupola at the railroad station is probably going to need to be fixed and something they'll be looking at for next year's budget. They wanted to know from me the status of the railroad station lease, for which I did not have an answer, so hopefully
Talk about that.
we can talk about that so that I can give them an answer. They've approved funds for an expert to do a workup of two properties in town, the Lambier House and the KBC Smith House.
You have the addresses on those for those
I
that
do
are not
not.
familiar with them?
I don't know,
Okay.
man, sorry. Then there was actually a discussion about Oresco Park and what kind of a dedication there's going to be, how that's going to be organized, who's going to head that up, because they would clearly like to see that as a huge event. That we could certainly get a military unit in here, politicians, and so one of the things I want to put out there is that we really should.
Well, when we get a time frame on that, I think, I don't know.
Well, we'd be looking at Veterans Day. And the only question would be whether
It's ready.
Hmm?
But, does anybody have any different opinion? I would think that the HPC could kind of take the lead on this. Anybody, any other suggestions?
And that was the general feeling, but I didn't want them.
Yeah, why not?
They didn't want us to, I didn't want them to feel they were stepping on toes.
No, well, tell them we discussed it at the council table and they met with total silence.
That's always a good thing.
By the way, are we gonna get this proposal for the Oresco Park?
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be awarded at the next meeting,
At
August
the
13th.
next meeting?
Yeah.
And it's gonna have both alleys.
The path changes that we discussed?
Both
Yes.
paths.
And they're shooting for Veterans Day.
Anything
Yes.
else, Jeff?
The
Guaranteed.
other thing I did want to report on
Sure.
the DPW committee meeting that we held.
Yeah.
And I've got to start by thanking Councilmember Bash, Mayor Rustin, and Jewel, and I know Carl was here, he's gone, but I thought it was a very, very good meeting.
Mhm.
And actually, you're going through the list before of all the things that need to be addressed, Tony. I think was part of what we were realizing going into this meeting is that there are 1,000,001 demands on DPW in every which direction from different constituencies, being different city departments, buildings, members of the council, environmental commission, HPC, recreation, you name it, they're all tugging at them. So that was the first thing that we really hit upon. But I think some of the short-term suggestions that we came out of the meeting with, which were very good, and it was actually a nice combination of the mayor and councilman, was that there needs to be a regular inspection schedule, which there does not seem to be. It's as needed. They go and clean and fix things up in parks. They need a regular schedule and they need an inspection worksheet to work from, which then has to be reviewed. So that is one of the short-term goals that Carl knows he needs to be working on. So that was actually really helpful. The other thing that we're going to explore as longer term would be things like, Carl actually alluded to, we have a piece of equipment for roads, but he's not sure what, or what it does, was my
The infrared.
impression. And has never been used by him. And so I think part of it is to look and see what that does and if we can employ that to get some work done on the roads more quickly.
You mean to fix the potholes?
To fix potholes, cracks, we're not sure what it does, but
As you refer to the
So
piece
we
of
have
equipment that's owned by
equipment which
the
nobody knows?
co-op.
The co-op, yeah.
They don't know what that is.
And where's that garage? Do you remember? Is it Norwood?
I think it's moved to Norwood.
was it moved to Norwood? Because
We had it at one point, Dumont had it at one point. It kind of moves around.
So something definitely to look at. That was one thing. Another is to look at just getting someone in to help. We've discussed this at council meeting, plant trees. We have a lot of money sitting there, and trees aren't getting planted in part because they don't have the staff. So the question is it better to spend a little bit more, get someone from the outside and get the trees planted, or
trees done.
sit there and look at a whole lot of money with no trees being planted?
Agreed.
And the other thing that we are going to explore at the next meeting, which is at the end of August, is to look into, at least start a discussion on the recycling, the automated side loading trucks, which they use in Bergenfield and Englewood, just to see if it's something that could be employed here in the long run as a cost-cutting measure, or at least a staff reallocation measure, because right now he has 3 trucks for recycling with 3 staff members each, that's 9 people. Those trucks, he said, we could get away with 2 trucks and each one has 1 person. So we're talking about all those kinds of things that you'd like done in that long list, but we don't have the people to allocate necessarily for it, and that would help change.
I'll be honest with you, I think the DPW is in dire need of staff. One of the things I was going to talk about, when I drive home every day, I take different routes because I like to look at different roads. So just today, again, just past couple of days, I've been coming down Park and Highwood, and there's trees, limbs sitting on the side of the road that have been there for weeks. Now, many years ago, one of the operations of the senior foreman was to drive around town, drive all the streets and, put things down, put things in his truck, whatever it is. But because was strapped with manpower, he's got to do work now, which really is not the way to do business, yeah?
And that's why we're looking at some way to change that business.
Now, you talked about recycling. I mean, I'm saying maybe a couple of years ago or a year ago, I brought up the subject to look at the subject of possibly subbing out the recycling program, including the transfer station, as was many years ago, which was under control of the contractor, and see what the cost benefits.
Well, the problem was a couple of years ago, recyclables were a profit center. And you had people that would come in here and handle it, and maybe even pay us to do it because they could recoup their money by, collecting all that stuff. Now, it's no longer the case.
We have to pay for
And
people to take it.
if we outsourced it, it would cost us a lot of money. But I mean, don't close off any of our
Right,
options.
we're gonna look at all the options, but I think looking at those automated side loaders is definitely also an option, because that's
Very
a
impressive.
big cost reduction. Councilman, Mayor, anything
No, I
else
think-
that?
No,
I really do appreciate it, I thought it was.
You did an excellent job of running the meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think that was
No,
a fantastic.
so the
good work.
total cost, he actually said, he's bringing
Carl would know
someone
this.
to the next meeting. He said the cost to our town would be about 1.2 million for the 2 trucks and all the garbage cans.
That's it?
1.2?
Yeah.
1.2 million.
To buy 2 trucks and all the garbage
Two trucks and all the
cans?
garbage cans. And we would do it in phases.
That's
We wouldn't
not
do it
bad.
all
Not
at
bad.
once, and then you
And then
get,
the cost savings would be...
you get a savings of about 6 or 7 people.
6 or
That's a
7
lot.
people. that
And I
can
know
be-
I
Then
said
they can
9
be-
to 2, but when you talk about staff vacations and all that, you're really.
Yeah, but those can be doing other
Exactly.
work.
Exactly, to start cleaning the
Yeah.
town,
Do you
cutting
have
the
any,
grass, all the other stuff.
Do you have
that
any
they need.
any committee reports from China?
Yeah, I got 2 of them, as a matter of fact. Councilman Dayton asked me to report for her.
Woman, councilwoman.
Person, exactly. Okay, so first I was this morning at the lunch. I sat down with Elita over there, and we participated in the welcoming committee activities. So a few things I have to report to the council and mayor over here. So first of all, there will be no more welcome books after this, the end of this year. Those welcome books are so hard to make and costly, and we're gonna stop them. Then we need a confirmation from the fire department for a new residence visit for May 15, 2019, from 6:30 to 8. Julie, if you
They're
can.
busy.
please.
Just kidding.
We might
It's
have
the
a fire.
busy time, I
We might
know.
have a fire that day, I don't know.
Max, it's simply a matter of putting the request in.
Yeah, I know, but they were saying, oh, we're waiting for such a long time. So Joe will be able to get it by tomorrow now. Yeah, we're just gonna say,
What's the date again? May?
May 15, 2019, from 6:30 to 8, and please don't start a fire. After that, it's fine. Okay, then I thought I solved a problem, and I got just made it worse. There was an issue that
How could you, Max?
That's right.
Changed.
The issue of changing, yeah, they have some big invites which are kind of large that they send out to the new residents, and if they go to the post office to mail them, it's 50 cents. But if we get in-house and give them to Lizette, they are $1 each, because our machine, once it sees their size, charges $1. While the post office only charges 50 cents.
That is weird.
Yeah, and over 240 that
That
we.
comes a
yeah,
lot.
it comes, and you have to issue a invoice to be paid. The chairman of the committee goes
Well,
and
hold on,
does.
what are these now? These are
Invites to the new...
Yeah, to the new residents
And
when
how
they
many
come.
are there?
200 and something.
480.
480 we come, and that becomes, it's a large number, and I thought on our conversation we have this solved. Then Lizette said, Max, can you come for a second?
I did exactly
Things
that.
changed.
That's exactly that.
Because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
changed the size of the postcard, so it's much bigger. and once the machine registers it, it ups the price, and I can't override.
Why
it.
can't they make them smaller?
Okay,
They
so,
can, that's what
That's
that
the size.
My
suggestion.
suggestion is
Yeah.
to make it
That's the
smaller.
logical suggestion.
And the,
Good for you.
and the other thing I suggested was to put a tiny URL and a little code reader, and you can make it even smaller.
Yeah, of course.
well,
That
but
makes
not
sense.
everybody knows how to do this, so we're gonna have to still have the
Over time.
The
printing.
machine is set like that from Neopost, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
so
thought it was,
something-
All right,
so
is that
now
it?
we're gonna have to go back to the, at least to finish the stock of the invoice that I
Small
have
postcards.
right now, and the next stack should be smaller than to be able to go through this one. They want to start a historical tour of Tenafly for the new residents, and they expect it to have about 10 to 20 or so people. And we're asking who should be the person, and I refer them to Karen News, who is the chairman of the historical committee. And there is some other things that they would like to do a press release, and I said for the October, and Lauren and I will do a press release to be able to send to the newspapers for our October new residents welcome.
September.
No, they moved it to October.
October.
We're already back to
To the
school.
start.
night.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, kept conflicting.
Yeah, exactly, to move it out. And if it's possible, Jewel, they would like to have it in the next newsletter that we have.
Yeah, that's the job of the committee, though, not the liaisons. The committee can do the press release.
No, they asked for help. They asked specifically, I said, okay, Lauren and I can do the press release. They asked for help.
Okay.
It's not okay. And that's for this one. And I have another email from Lauren. She has participated in the Board of Adjustment meeting, and it seems to be a very, very big and convoluted case that involves what's the name of the school that
Browning
covered
House,
Browning House,
cell tower.
with T-Mobile trying to build another 25 feet antenna on top of that, and it's already above our him, and it becomes a very, very tall construction in town. And of course, it's the T-Mobile people are just in a way insisting, saying that this can be a subject.
Right, I don't, it's an active application, I don't think you should.
All right, and they would like people that are familiar with that type of information to participate in the meeting that's going to be on August 6th again. And those two are the...
Thank you. Shama, you have anything?
No.
Okay, we'll close the committee reports. Unless anybody else has any old or new business.
I have the
It's
old
old
business.
business.
Oh, right.
Anything on old business?
Huh?
Old business?
Yeah, let him do his first and then,
Okay,
You can
it's
follow
old
what we
because you
need.
were not here, Bill. That's why it's old. If you was here, it would be new.
We know. Okay.
So what I was asking the council is to create a resolution asking the New Jersey government to codify Roe v. Wade in a law in New Jersey. A grassroots request to start doing that, given the fact that it's very possible that we're going to have it overturned.
So, codify Roe versus Wade, I mean.
In the first two semesters,
that might be a poor choice of words.
Yeah, right.
You're just looking to, what he's looking to do is basically have the state.
Pass a statute.
which is a codified.
That
So
says-
we want a resolution, or he's suggesting
Urging the
a
state.
resolution
Urging the state
suggesting
government
to the state that this is
to
something that
pass a
should.
law that would make,
Here's the thing.
yeah.
Why that seems kind of not necessary. Roe versus Wade, well, we all know what Roe versus Wade
Yep.
is. Okay. It's only, that decision really is only necessary to prevent your state from doing the opposite.
Yes, exactly.
So, if there's no law that would outlaw abortion,
You don't know
Then-
what it is.
no. If there's no law that would outlaw abortion, there's no. what are they gonna say?
It's going to say that there will be no interference with the reproductive rights of a woman in the first two semesters. That's it's going to be.
Trimester.
Trimesters. Yeah.
But by default, there isn't.
It doesn't matter. It can be. That's why you want to prevent the
But
good
then the state,
governance.
but then the legislature would have to pass
That's what we want
a
to
law.
basically.
No, they have to pass a law saying that there's a right to, that,
Yeah,
you know.
that's why we want to urge the legislator to pass a law codifying.
Saying exactly that.
It's exactly that.
It's just like it's a resolution, that's
It's
all we're
we
on.
want to start saying that we start moving on this.
There's nothing wrong with asking for that.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with asking for it, but it may be viewed as being foolish.
It may be, and I can be foolish all my life, which is okay with me. I think that should be a something that should be in the law.
New York's already doing it.
Does the council want to do this?
I'm for
Jeff?
it.
They're doing that?
Dan?
Because it's,
Tony?
There would have to be, I mean, if there was a federal law that made abortion either illegal or.
I
We're
think-
just
you know what,
preempting.
It would be preempting.
We are preempting
why don't
this.
I think this is a little premature. I support what you're trying to do. I think, you know.
Well, let's ask the council.
The
You wanna
day,
do that?
the day the Supreme Court reverses, which I don't think is gonna happen now, because he seems like he's willing to leave it alone. If the Supreme Court was to reverse that, then I think that's the time we send a resolution to the state.
That would be too late because then you
It's
have
too
a.
late. No, because nothing would happen here unless, if, the state would have to, like Bill said, have to pass a law banning abortions.
So here's
Right.
why.
As long-
Here's why, and I want to ask the council if you want to do it. But here's why I'm saying it. The moment you have, right now you don't have an opposition because that's basically the law. The moment when this is overturned, you have just empowered everybody that is against it because the Supreme Court has overturned it. It makes it so much more
You're right.
difficult to pass it at
I
that
don't
time.
think this, I
You
don't think the
mean
state's
to-
gonna give
wait,
a
but you're
lot
saying
about whether we
The
want.
state would have to take action
Yes.
to actually interfere with,
Either or yeah, but since there is no law about pro and con, everybody can interpret that at their own will. As a doctor, I can say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to perform that. Or as the hospital say, my policy on it, which is basically because there is no law, everybody can do whatever they want.
well, that's true.
Yeah, so what we want to do, what I want to do, is to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's why I'm asking the council, do you want to do it or not? It's so simple.
I support the
Right,
resolution.
why don't you write a
Is-
letter, a little Tenafly letterhead as council president, and we'll sign on it.
Okay, whatever you want, it's the same thing.
And I
People wanna
believe,
sign it, sign it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so we have the support.
Okay, anything else? Entertain a motion to.
Old business?
I'm sorry, Tony, you have your turn.
You know, as we were talking about the senior center a lot, we were talking about where we would continue the continuity.
okay, here's the-
You know, we did a survey at my place of business, because we're moving some things around. We looked at trailers. And I will tell you, I was in a state of shock with some of the trailers that are out there today that can be used as a temporary basis. It's phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
it actually puts some buildings to shame, truthfully, the way they look. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So it's something to think about. You know, we can stage them and can be used until, you know, just continue the process.
I have a question following up on what Tony has just brought up about the trailers. Could we consider leasing that parking lot across the street and put the trailers there if and when we do the fixing?
It's not a very level place.
But, I mean, is that something that
Yeah.
can be managed?
Absolutely. I think that's something to really,
Oh,
We could-
Any
I mean, we don't have to
further
buy
discussion
that.
closed,
Yeah.
though.
What?
Yeah.
Any further discussion to lease, it has to be enclosed.
Right.
No, I'm just throwing out an idea.
Conceptually, but if it's
All right,
Concept.
okay, then I
Conceptually.
withdraw mine because it's not supposed to be in.
Okay, anything else?
I have one thing. I was just driving by some town the other day and they had a board like ours And it was a very hot day, and the board read, cooling center now open at such and such address. I know you've talked in the emergency program about cooling centers and all. Maybe we should also have listed on our bulletin board. I don't know. I mean, I just happened to see it at the other town. I said, what a good idea. So is that something we can add? Because I know you were.
I'm not sure what
Do we have
their
a-
cooling center entails. Our library is air conditioned and open 6 days a week, not on Sundays. And I think the general consensus is the cooling center in Tenafly is the Clinton Inn, because I tell you, I see a lot of people in the lobby, if not taking rooms. The question really becomes what the demand for it. You know, even when we had Sandy and we had the other storm, the amount of people that really sought out or required help, from the best of my experience, was next to zero.
I'm sure.
You know,
I just saw it and I thought, I mean, Tony had been talking about
well,
them.
you know, it might be, Tony, we might want to put something in the newsletter next spring about, you know, if somebody, you know, has a need for air conditioning, we give them all the alternatives.
We do that, absolutely.
But still, which one will be our cooling center if we do that?
Well, if you're a senior, the senior center is air
Senior
conditioned, but
center.
only till 3 o'clock.
Only through 3 o'clock.
The library is open till 5, or some evenings. Other than that, we really don't have anything, but the question becomes, is there a need for it?
Yeah, no, I agree with it, but I'm saying if you put it in the newspaper and say go to the cooling center, you're gonna have to list that.
where it is.
You have to be
What it
aware
is.
of
Do that,
Yeah.
listen.
Okay,
We need
that's
a
all.
needs assessment.
The fire department's it's a good cooling center.
24/7 police
Well,
department.
you could laugh, but they do have a big social room.
No, I think that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
that's a good
No,
place.
I was not joking. The fire department.
They have that big room
the
that
room
can-
can
Well,
be-
except that there's no staff there, you might even be easier to expand the hours of the library if necessary.
if necessary,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, you want to read the closed session?
Do we have new business?
New business.
There is no, we have new business?
I thought you wanted to talk about the railroad station and,
I thought that's in the closed session.
no,
Okay.
no, it's
What
not.
is it, the
Then I'll
lease?
raise that as old business.
Yeah, I don't think so, it's not on closed session.
Old business,
Well,
lease the railroad.
what is it that
Well-
we can discuss in? what-
Where is it?
Well,
Is it on?
No,
the-
it's not.
It's not listed.
It's not
Oh,
listed.
it's not.
No, you and I had discussed, you know, does the council want to allow alcoholic beverages to be served? That would be open session. I mean, it's talking
Yeah.
about bid specs.
Yeah.
And I had inquired of the ABC exactly like what would we need to put in the bid specs and what are the suggestions that they would have if you were actually interested in doing that. And really, the only things, I have to do all my notes from memory, but okay. So what ABC said, the woman who was in charge of this said, she said, first, your governing body has to decide is the service of alcoholic beverages going to be a requirement of the bidder or an option, because there are two different approaches then. So if you said no, we want it to be, you know, for that, then your bid specs have to say that it's a condition of the contract. And since the application is made after the bid is awarded, it should make clear that if they don't qualify, for whatever reason, they have a disqualifying factor, that the contract is cancelable. And then you probably might have to go out for bid again.
Well, that makes sense.
Unless you notify the second highest bidder, and the reverse, obviously, is highest bidder now. If it's an option, it has to be clear that the rent, whatever they're going to pay, is not conditioned on them
Right.
either getting it or not.
Right.
And the other thing, she said, sometimes the ABC requires physical changes to the premises. She says, I don't know what your rail station is like, but you have to make sure that certain parts are separated from where the alcohol is served, if you're going to allow minors into the place, if parents come in with children, that there are requirements that they may impose in terms of the physical layout. So if that's the case, make sure that your bid specs say, if it's optional, whatever change they have to make are their responsibility. And I said, well, it's a historic building, so there are only certain things we can do to it. And she said, well, all that has to be hashed out. She goes, I'm not historic.
The first thing I think we need, Jewel, is we need a timeline. We need a timeline as to when we have to have the bid specs in place. Okay? You know, a timeline leading up to,
Well, I know she
I
said.
think I mentioned that to you, right?
Yeah, no, but I can address that. It really takes, it's gonna take, she said, about 2 months. They're faster than, they say they're faster than
Speedy bullet.
municipalities.
Speedy
But
bullet.
we're probably faster now, but some municipalities take longer. She said it takes, you should allow about 2 months.
For
They
what?
do,
For
for
what?
the approval process. If you're going to want the building to be, let's say our lease is up when? For, I think it's
End of
February.
December.
Or is it
December.
February? Is it December?
This December?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought
We
it
are
was
so
in
late
January.
already.
No, we're pushing it.
Okay, if, she said that you should run, if you have a tenant there that might be displaced, might be the winning bidder, you should plan out your bid so that, that the investigation part and the approval is running at the same time that your current tenant is there, if you want to make sure that there's no interruption in the occupancy. So she said, she'd leave 2 months for our investigation. So back up to 2 months, and that's when you should have already awarded the contract, awarded the bid a little bit before that. So they can start, that person has to fill out the application online and figure about 2 months before they complete it and
So
give their
what time do
approval.
we have?
So if it's this end of December, back up 2 months, then you got November, right, beginning of November.
End of October.
To award the bids, award the bid.
Yeah,
So we are running out of time.
yeah.
Here's a couple of things I'm thinking about. First of all, and Bill, where does the HPC come in on this? It's a historic building. If we're going to bring in booze of any kind, do we need to get their permission? And if, are we talking about them selling, or just customers can bring it in? We can sell it there now, right?
No.
You can
sell
sell
it.
it there, but only for on-premises consumption.
Right,
It's
I
not a.
understand
It's not a shop.
Not a third.
I understand.
yeah,
So the
33
question
license.
becomes, if a tenant is going to sell booze, and I use booze because we haven't decided if it's going to be beer and wine, or hard stuff, or whatever.
Right, that's the other thing.
Do they need to make physical changes to the building, and do those physical changes, I'm assuming, have to go through the HPC?
Interior changes to the building don't go to the HPC.
Okay, so if they're going to put a bar in, let's just, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing this out there. If they want to put a bar in there, the HPC doesn't get involved.
That's on the outside.
All right. Now the question becomes: do we want the HPC to review anything?
It's only outside. I mean,
Well, no. I'm not saying we're required to do it, but you got an HPC here, and it's a historic. It's
Yeah.
like the historic building in our town.
I would think, as liaison to that, I would think yes, because they are concerned with every aspect of that building, up to and including leaks and things going on, how heat circulates, what that does to the interior of the building. So I would think they would, they are aware that we've discussed this, because I report to the, at those meetings, what we've discussed. And they would like to be able to weigh in.
Totally separate from that issue is, what do we want there? I frankly would suggest to the council that we make it optional. I mean, if a guy wants to come in there and give us the same amount of rent as somebody that wants to, without selling booze, who wants to sell booze,
Yeah.
Yeah, why
What do we
should we
care?
care?
I
What do we
agree.
care? I agree with
I
that.
personally agree with that.
Yeah, I agree
and
with that.
there's going to be a group of people here, how big I don't know, that are going to say we don't think it's appropriate to sell booze there. Whether
Yeah.
it's, and I use the term booze only because I don't want to say beer and wine, because there's hard stuff. These are all options. So the first question at this table is, do we want to allow liquor there?
Look at your current clientele. You get a lot of the kids from the high school. that go there.
Right, so it's like legislating morality, which I personally don't believe, but that everybody has on. My opinion is that we make it optional.
Yeah, I agree.
Our responsibility is both to maximize the revenue and to keep the community in harmony, as we say. So we'll make it optional if we get somebody that's gonna say, okay. If not, you know, we can do some wine and beer.
Well, but I understand what you're saying. I don't believe in legislating that either. But the thing that's more important to me is this is the centerpiece of our downtown.
Yeah.
And, you know, for many years I've looked at that and said, I could never imagine how great it is compared to what we never had anything
You
there
know.
that was of any value to the community. And now we have a centerpiece there. Will booze, I hate using that term, but will it enhance it, or could it make it, you know, be a negative
Well,
thing for our downtown?
I would definitely be in favor of limiting it to beer and wine, so we, A, can eliminate the use of the term booze.
Yeah.
B, I don't really see if somebody is sitting there, whether they're drinking a cup of tea outside or sipping a glass of wine, I don't think really denigrates the building
Or the
town,
environment.
or
Yeah,
the
I
environment.
agree with that too.
I mean,
And
alcohol
it
is served in
and I
other
would
restaurants as
think
well in town.
limiting it to those
But you,
items, and someone legally could probably bring their own there.
well, they don't.
I saw
I don't know if
But
you
they
can.
Tuesday.
I don't think you can.
Tuesday night, when during the
I don't know.
concert I was over there, and I saw you two over there, and you, Peter. Next to me there was a lady, and she uncorked a bottle of wine. They had it cold for
bar.
her outside,
How was that?
next to me. And she uncorked a bottle of wine. They put it in a cooler and stuff like that, and she drank wine
Well,
over there.
let me ask you a question.
So it was already in.
I'm not an expert on this subject, but to me, beer and wine have different connotations. Okay, to me, wine is an acceptable thing. You know, does beer mean something different to you? Does it bring a different crowd? I mean, today with all these craft beers and all these exotic
it's
beers,
artisan beers
how
are
about-
like fine wines,
and
basically.
I don't want to talk about Councilman Dayton, Councilman.
Council person.
But, you know, look, she brings her family there, like many families go
Yeah.
there. Is that gonna turn young families off?
Why?
If they're sitting
You
next to
can
people
go.
that are
You can
drinking?
go to a restaurant with your family and not order the alcohol. It's
No, I
that simple as
understand.
that.
And you can go with the kids. I only went and had a bottle of wine. I mean that.
So then,
I'd be in favor of just BYOB. I'd be in favor
you
of
can
that.
do that now.
I don't think you can, Peter. You think you need a special,
No.
I don't think we're
No,
allowed
BYOB is
to.
not licensed.
what's
It's
that?
not licensed.
BYOB
You
is
can
not
bring
licensed.
it.
There's just
Right.
restrictions. You can't advertise it. You can't charge somebody for ice. You can't charge them for a glass.
Well, advertising,
That's
that's-
the only restriction.
Well,
It's just that you don't
that's
have
a
to.
big- that's a
you
big
don't have
restriction.
to. Well, you don't put it on the door.
But you can put it on
you
the
don't have
menu.
to- You don't have to
I've seen
ask
it on menus.
for a permit from the state or from the municipality. You don't pay, you know, the
Well,
$2,000 renewal
the
fee.
sense I'm getting is from the talk here, beer and wine
Yeah.
and optional.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Can I say something, Mr. Chairman? Just beer, wine, and if you're having a cafe there, would like to put liqueur into the coffee. And that really is, I think, perfectly upscale use, possible use.
That's not a bad idea,
And
but
the other
Bill,
piece
is
of
that doable? I mean, can you?
Can you specify what kind of alcohol can be served?
I don't know how you differentiate, like
We-
a
can we put in
Sambuca
the-
from,
Can we put in
From
the bid
whiskey.
specs?
Yeah, but we can put in the
Sambuca,
Bill,
yes.
we can put in
Jack
the
Daniels,
contract.
no.
In the contract that the alcohol license, while issued by the state, we are required to only serve beer and wine. We can put it in the contract.
that you absolutely can do because
But
I
what
talked
if
to
she's
the,
suggesting about
Yeah,
the
from the
liqueurs?
ABC on that.
Yeah.
She said, yes,
But
you can,
cafes,
you
Yeah.
can say, she didn't differentiate between
And
the
flavor-
types of liquor,
Yeah, and-
but she said you can say it could be, she had spirits. She
Yeah.
said, you know, if it's, you could say beer and wine, and
And
those
flavored
spirits.
coffees. and flavored
No, wait a
coffees.
minute, I have a question. What
guys
is
decide
the,
for
what
what-
is
I don't
the,
know, I don't know if you could say, oh, you can put it in coffee.
Right.
what is the problem with spirits?
No.
Right.
Aren't they, isn't alcohol? But isn't it the principle of serving alcohol? Either you're serving it or you're not serving
So
it.
here would be my
No,
differentiation.
like a
Or
martini
like a-
bar, you can have a martini bar and.
You can
Yeah.
get a crowd that comes around and only drinks scotch and all this stuff, which is gonna make a different type of a different crowd that you want in the
Well,
center
you
of
know
the
what,
town.
first of all,
I don't
let's keep in mind that we're not renovating a building here where we could build a martini bar.
Yeah,
We have
But the
we have
owner
a
can
historic
make it.
railroad station with outdoor seating.
yeah.
I'm not sure that even if it was allowed, that you're gonna get the hard drinking crowd.
I agree with the mayor on that.
So,
I don't
I'm not-
really
you
see
know,
the
that
whiskey
said,
crowd showing up.
I'm not sure you wanna put it in the specs that it's allowed. I think, you know, beer and wine is fine, and you
Yeah.
know, after a couple, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, after a couple of years, if there's a need to make a change in that, we can, in consent with the tenant, we could do that, right?
In consent with the tenant?
Yeah, in other words,
Oh, yeah.
he's got a 5-year lease or whatever it is with an
Oh, yeah,
option,
sure, you can do
and we're
that.
giving him beer and wine, and he comes to us and says,
Year
you
two,
know,
he says, look, this is
it's
not
too
cutting.
restrictive. We have the ability to go back to the state, right,
Mhm.
and change it if we care to.
I say
Yeah.
you go
But
for
the beer and wine
alcohol from
require
day
the
one.
outdoor,
Why,
I
why?
would agree with
They
that.
do, yeah.
yeah, see
Yeah.
that,
We should be able to
and
get-
that, I think,
It-
would be an HPC
Renting.
concern.
Right, if you're,
Absolutely.
for outside, if you're going
Would
to
you go for the
allow,
full amount?
Folks,
consumption outside.
Shop-
Sorry.
Sorry.
This is
You have to
interesting.
have the area actually somehow.
Walled off.
Yeah, you could use the expandable tapes, you know, like the movie things, as temporaries, because some places just are seasonal, obviously it would be seasonal here too. I know, because actually I just did one in Lyndhurst, but they'll allow you to do that. Just somehow it has to be demarked so that you can't go past this spot over here.
I think that's something that the HPC would be extremely concerned about.
I think so, right.
What do you mean?
Because you have to put a barrier
have to
There has to be some
around
board area.
the train
Flower
station.
boxes they have around.
In other words, what you're saying to people, if you're inside this, you could do like flower pots, you know.
Yeah, why not
but-
do something attractive?
But it has to be,
rather than-
it has to be a solid thing,
Does-
because you're telling people, if you want to drink, you have to be inside this, you
Right.
can't take your drinks outside.
Because they license the area,
The
just
area.
like if it were a real bar.
But
you know,
that's valid
regular
for every
fireplace.
restaurant.
Whether you're
That's
inside
for
or out.
That's
everywhere.
valid for every restaurant.
Right, that has to be the licensed
That's-
area.
that's-
But I
that's a
mean, when
challenge.
we had the pavilion, there was
Technically,
concern
yes,
about
okay.
something that was
However, you're
across
gonna
the
see people,
street
for,
from the railroad
if, for
station.
example, the Spanish restaurant on Piermont Road, you notice there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
barrier around there.
Yeah.
That's not to say that every place that has sidewalk dining
Yeah.
does that, but they're technically breaking the law if they don't. And we're not in a position as a borough that we want to break the law.
No.
No.
but
Or
it's
allow
all-
a tenant to break the law.
Well, it's what Shama was saying, start from the beginning with a full license.
Yeah, I
And
would
tell
say-
the tenant, for the first year, you can only sell, even though you have the license, you can only sell beer and wine if
Can
you
you
want.
do that?
I
No,
don't
no.
think so,
No.
no, because they
I
enforce
see-
it. No,
I think you have
Who's
to
they
give them the
enforcing?
full
the
license.
ABC will put that restriction in this particular.
No, you
type of
give them
license.
full license. And you in the list.
Shouldn't do that.
I would give them
Shouldn't do
full
that.
license.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Our
Based
lawyer
on
is saying-
based on my discussion with her, with the woman who actually processes
Yeah.
this, if she finds out, like, what? How are you going to enforce that?
No, you can't.
If you put
I
it-
would say
they
give them
want
the
the
full
lease.
license.
They want to see that. They want a resolution from us saying that that we approved that.
We approve full license, that's right.
I would say give the full
Right, but
license.
if you approve it and you don't tell
I
them,
think it's better, but Max, we give them, if you want to do that, you give them beer
Optional
and
full
wine.
license.
And after a year or two, if the tenant and we agree with the tenant to expand it, we go back to the state and say we want to change it to.
I don't think from a practical point of view, they even really have the facility to go
yes,
with a
the
full
annual,
license,
license fee.
because the amount of stuff that you need to store for that.
Yeah,
it's the same price.
Oh, really?
you need a lot
Oh,
of,
okay. All right.
It's not just the bottles, it's glasses, it's
Oh,
cleaning
okay, all right.
equipment,
I
all that.
You want to
also
know-
don't know that.
We'll see.
so do we have an?
Do we
At
want
least we do
to
optional.
sell hard liquor? in the
They get rid of-
environment that
get rid
place
of,
is.
This.
I don't think it's necessary.
No, I
I think
somehow
beer and
agree,
wine are fine.
even though it's, you know,
And we can
I have-
revisit it again, but I think it's an annual thing, but let's.
We have to renew the lease every year?
No, the
That's your beer.
liquor
The
license.
license, okay.
yeah, no, I'm okay with wine and beer at the beginning.
I say we go for broke, but I will
Yeah.
bow down to
Is it
everybody
doable? Can we
else's.
have
I
the
don't
bid
think
specs
so.
by the
No.
August meeting?
We'll have to ask
No,
Bill.
I'm asking you, is it reasonable to ask him to do that? I'm not saying.
Do what?
Yeah,
Can you put the bid specs together for the August meeting, which is on a Monday, by the way?
and it starts at 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock.
And 7 o'clock.
So,
Yeah.
so are we making a decision that the only potential use is dining?
It's BYOB.
Wine and,
Your own what?
Not drinking, dining. Are we limiting it to the single use?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
have
You
absolutely.
no
want to be
problem.
a food
I have no,
place.
yeah, I have no problem
doing
with
that.
that. Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
centerpiece of our town list.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, the only specs we have are the ones that Joe did a really, really long time ago, and they're not really that good.
No, I know, but the main thing is that it had other uses. It allowed other uses.
I think we
Yeah, I don't
moved, we
remember,
moved
but-
away from those other uses.
I
We're
think
very
we found a
happy
use
to.
that we really.
Yeah.
much
No,
better
no,
than,
dining, I
much
think
better
is the
than the
only.
nail salon.
Yeah, it was a hair
If-
salon
yeah.
I
and
can
a
work with you
art
to try to.
gallery
I
or
have a
something
curious-
bad
Out of the-
quality.
All right, so we're gonna
Yeah.
get the bid specs for the next meeting, and then we can move right along.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna be, food service, and we're going to include,
Liquor license, optional liquor license.
Optional.
Apply to,
Optional.
right, they can apply if they want.
Yes.
It's not a condition of the
Right,
bid
it's
They're
not
specs.
a
probably gonna
condition.
wanna
Wine
go
and-
into
If they don't wanna do it, and
fire
they're the high
code as
bidder,
well,
God
because
bless
they
them.
can't, they
Yeah.
can't cook on the premises.
Right, no cooking on premises.
Yeah, no cooking.
Right.
Well, I think part of that will be in Joe's bid specs. You have to review those. There's certain,
Probably.
certain
I
restrictions
should know
because
that.
of the historic nature of the building that doesn't change.
But I think it's open fire. That's the only one. You can cook. You cannot have open
Like
fire.
you can do
No,
microwave
they
and
can't.
Microwave and toast and stuff like that because I,
No grill, no,
But
frying,
microwaves,
nothing.
microwaves, yeah.
That's what they're doing now.
yeah, exactly. And grilling, they do have that.
Look, whatever
electrical
they're
grill.
doing, they're
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
They're not, whatever method they're using
And
is
they
working.
have hummus, which you promised me.
Bill, just so I understand, because I know I'll be talking to Karen News about this. So you said that the state needs to look at the interior to make sure that,
No, as part of the application process, they have you give a sketch of what's inside.
okay.
Even with regular liquor licenses, they have that. So they can determine, where can it be served, or any areas. Like, for example, I had one in Lyndhurst, it serves food, pizza place, where the employees who are underage can't access the place where the alcohol is. And if you're under 18, if you hire kids to serve pizza and stuff, you
18
can't.
to 21.
I think it's 18 for. I think
Serving?
I
You can
think
serve.
that if you're 18, you can serve it.
You cannot
But
drink.
if you're under 18, you can't be in that area. They hire high school girls to come in as waitresses.
That's
And
another
they
factor.
said they can't be in this area over here.
So
Like, in
how
other
do
words, where they
Demarc
pick up the food.
that area. That's going to be the question.
Well, in this particular place, they had an area where the young girls would come to take the pizza, take the food. They can't take the alcohol to the people.
spot inspections every now and
No, I just think it's based upon the layout of it. I think we're asking for trouble. It's too much work and too much involvement to try to segregate,
Well,
the
you-
people going to be allowed to drink or
Tony,
not.
But you put it in the specs and people won't
You're
bid.
correct that it's a lot of work, but that falls on the tenant.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
on us.
Not on us. The tenant has to follow the rules. And listen, I'm not closing my mind to the fact that the high bidder may be somebody that doesn't want to bother with alcohol.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's up to them.
It's whoever
And
gives
that
the
wouldn't
high
be the end of
bid.
the world either.
Absolutely.
You know, I could exist with the operation that's there now. I'd like a little more rent, but so it is. We'll get as much rent as we can, and the operation will be as good as it is now or better.
They pay the taxes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the rent's not that low there, but if you add up the
There
taxes.
is nothing with the nail salon, nothing wrong with the nail salon.
Peter,
Okay,
some time ago, I asked the council if we would be willing to look at, if you actually just go to Cresskill, you can go to Norwood and Northville, and you see this, they have banners hung up of the men and women that died in the line of duty.
I saw that in upstate New York yesterday.
So, is that something that we would want
I
to
saw
do?
Absolutely.
that somewhere.
It
Where did I
really
see it?
gives a lot of class and.
We should
and-
honor every single person that gave
Now,
their life for
I
the
don't know if
country.
the HPC would be the one to
Where did I see it?
process
We
that.
have a list of those people that would qualify. It's on the monument at Tyler Park, and I would say there's probably about at least 50. So it would be,
So to tie into that discussion, there was a discussion at one point about someone from HBC had been in Newtown, Pennsylvania, which in front of a lot of their stores, they have these huge pictures showing what the town looked like, because there's several hundred buildings there that are historic, and Newtown's made itself historic. So signs, plaques, we got into discussion about if we have the rails to trails, if that would be the kind of thing to put along that. Pictures, things for people to read, war heroes from,
no, I think it's
Town,
more
but-
appropriate on a major road. I drove through the down in the middle of a very, very small town, but it caught my eye, the banners of similar size to what the, what was the
The
organization?
bid.
The bid had. I'm sorry, it was, big banners, and each one had a picture and a name and the date of
Yeah, I
service.
saw them in a
Hang from
different
the,
town.
from
I
the
would-
light poles.
I would
It's really
suggest the following. Let's finish Oresco Park first, and I think once Oresco Park is done, I think this is another step that we could honor all of the other soldiers and sailors that
I
have
would
given their
support
life.
any type of.
Absolutely,
But
you'll have full support.
I agree with the Oresco Park, absolutely, because I'm a.
But we don't wanna die before that.
But I think it's something we should start to look at now,
Yeah.
because it's gonna take time. Because you gotta, HPC's gonna have to get a picture of every man and woman, or, no, women, all the men that were killed, and put a little blurb
Blurb
on it.
about them.
So, I think we should start the process,
But
because
when you
bring-
say
bring it up again.
banners,
it's only, John, it's only about this big.
is it like flags?
It's like
That
a
kind
flag,
of
it's like
Banners.
a, it's like
Banners.
a flag banner.
Like,
type
you
thing.
remember what the bid had?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing.
Okay.
It's
Our
really-
Jeff,
But it's
Just-
something
just
people can read,
throw
it's
it
not
at
going to
them
be
at the next
flapping in the
meeting.
air.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I'll bring it.
Anything that we can do to
50
honor
in
the
the
people,
entire
it's
town.
absolutely.
There were 53
I would even
in the
put,
entire town.
50 what?
I would even put
Remember when I saw
a
them?
plaque or something,
Maybe
Oresco
we
I
can
Park.
saw
do
them
something
in
around
some
the
town.
Oresco
I
Park.
cannot remember
My only
where I
concern is,
was.
This weekend.
because I do this, because I'm a
Yeah,
history
it is
buff,
nice.
as I'm driving, I'm sitting there reading that stuff, which is not what you really should be
That's
doing.
actually a thought to do it around, but you're talking 50, that might be a little too much. but-
Okay,
Listen, something to figure out.
Very little money. It's very little
let's
money
go
for
into
what
closed
they do.
session. Bill?